What's up, my friends in the film fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching? Thank you so much for giving us this little bit of your time. It is finally here. We have been talking about this for what seems like forever. The level of excitement that we were all feeling for this thing, especially Jeremy. I mean, the resident video game expert on the channel was so flummoxed about how potentially awesome this could be. Did it disappoint? I guess it's all a matter of judgment. I personally think the first episode was pretty damn good. And we're going to talk about all the crazy things that happened in episode 1 of Last of Us. And the talk had already started. There was already some stuff going on before we started rolling here. And there's a lot to be said about this. Definitely a very involved, wild, I hate the word again, a very involved, very wild first episode of The Last of Us. But here to talk about it, of course, is the Dowager Countess, Lady Cora. How are you today, ma'am?
I'm great. I watched the wrong thing. I thought we were reviewing the menu, so I watched the menu last night, not the show. So I think I'm on the wrong show.
Well, on the menu was human beings in the show, so I mean, there's 6 degrees of separations, but I mean, you could draw a parallel. And of course, my hetero life mate, the one of all 4 of us who was mostly anticipating this thing, my hetero life mate, Jeremy. What's up, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. I even busted out my Firefly shirt just for this reason. I saw this like, I don't know, maybe around the time the show was announced, so I was kind of happy because I never had any Last of Us merch or anything like that, and I don't think there really was much that was like official. So this is my first bit of it. I'm sure I'll get more, and I'm sure there'll be pop figures, and you know damn well I'm gonna have the whole set of pop figures from the show. I'm still trying to track down the ones from the game. Some of them are like really expensive for no reason, but that's how it goes. But I have, I said I would do it. I have like a whole page here, and I have like a little bit more on the other side. So I got some.
Can
notes.
I look off your notes and sheet?
Yeah, you know what? I'll take a picture and send it to you. If you can read my writing, and like if I just put something like, I put, hey, Tess and Robert, that's a point. But I know what it means. But I'll maybe try to fix these notes a little bit later, make it make more sense. This is just me scribbling as I'm watching. I will definitely watch it again though, for sure.
Yeah, I was hoping to find time to watch it again before we went live. I unfortunately didn't have time, but I was like, damn, I watched it this morning when I first woke up, and it was pretty crazy stuff. And of course, when it comes to humans zombifying and eating other humans, can't have a discussion like that without our man from the Lone Star State, Tex. What's up, brother?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing all right. For the ones that saw on Twitter, I lost my good buddy, my hunting dog, after 14 years. Had to put him down yesterday, but rest in peace, Romo. But on the bright side, it was some good juju that, he knew I was sad because we had a pretty good night last night because let's go Cowboys. And I can't wait to assault and, Niner gang. I think they're like a different kind of game out there. So, it's going to be fun come Sunday. Frank, if you want to go ahead and, start crying now, it's okay. This is a safe space.
Oh, no. There won't be any crying come Sunday, at least not from our side anyway. Little program note, though. I did finagle my schedule at work. I should be able to live stream that entire game, so I'll probably go live about a half hour before.
I'm going to have to come on here live with you.
So there's probably so about 5:30 or so Sunday afternoon.
If you join him, you're going to have to wear 49er gear.
Oh no, we're going to be cowboyed out because whenever Frank has a mental breakdown after the Cowboys make him suck. Once we make the 49ers suck our deck, he's going to be really upset. So it's going to be a great day.
Sure.
So,
and then
sports ball.
And then, of course, Marcus is there talking about the Bengals. The who? Did they still have a team?
Today.
But anyway, that's for Sunday. Today we're here to talk about The Last of Us. And boy, again, what a crazy first episode. Look, the opening sequence of this episode was as cinematic and amazing as I have seen out of a lot of stuff. I mean, it sucks you in almost immediately with emotion, with action, with the chaos and confusion it really, it was a magnet that just drew me right in. Jeremy, I'll go to you first. I mean, you've watched it. We've seen it. It's that opening sequence. How crazy was that? What did you think of
that? Well, you mean the opening sequence with Sarah, or like when we, for some reason, flash back to 1968 and had the brother from the Mummy telling us about fungal infections that's going to kill us all?
Well, not quite that early, but I mean the opening sequence with him and his daughter and stuff like that. That was more what I was talking about.
Like where the game actually starts.
I thought the first couple of minutes was actually kind of interesting. It was good setup, and then of course we get to modern day Austin.
Well, okay, fine. Since you asked. Okay, so I guess skipping over that was the brother from the Mummy. That was kind of interesting, having him be the kind of like cautionary tale of like, hey, this could kill us all one day, and they're all like, what? Yeah, and I heard about the fact that here's the thing: when I wrote all this stuff down, it was really just minor kind of changes, like nothing. I mean, kind of nitpicky, but because really, I don't have anything that's really a complaint at all. Like you're saying, because I don't know why they changed the year. I'm like, I don't know why it didn't start in 2013 like the game did, and then jump 20 years to 2033, which your technology is going to stop at 2013. It's not like we don't know what 2013 looked like. I don't know why it had to be in 03, but I digress. Because I guess everything has to be in the current year of our Lord 2023 for some stupid reason. But it really, there was more to it than I had expected. Like I didn't expect like a little bit more with like the neighbors, the elderly couple, and I assume like maybe their kids, like they're adults, but because I was kind of getting the hint that they're going to be the first ones infected, and then that like when Sarah's got her first of all, Sarah, just attention to details, like Sarah has the same shirt she had on in the game, which is crazy, the band t-shirt. But seeing the grandma like convulse like right behind her, like kind of out of focus, that was horrifying. Makes your skin crawl, for a lack of a better term. And I'm trying to, God, my writing is awful. I like that's it's a little more in depth with like Ellie. Wow, too far ahead. With Sarah fixing Joel's watch, because she does say in the game too, like, yeah, your watch was broken, you kept complaining, so I fixed it. But it's nice that it is this, as we see her do this, it is setting up like the oh crap, like behind her, there goes the ambulance, the fire trucks, and the guy's like, God, this has been going on all day. Yeah, then when she goes back over and it just takes the hell off, and the grandma eating the neighbor, and I guess that's her husband and maybe like her daughter or something. The way they move, man, they move. I'm a little like, okay, these zombies move at like Mach 5. Like, why? They're a little quicker in the game, but not like fucking World War Z type zombies. But it is horrifying watching these zombies almost just lunge at you and like jump over tables and shit like that. If you need higher stakes, I mean, what better than that, I guess. And they did fake you out with the car, because I thought when they were going down the street, like the car was gonna T-bone him. She's like, "Dad, watch out!" And whoop, haha. I'm like, wait, so here comes a big plane. I'm like, as if we need a higher stake. The plane crashes and makes them crash their car. And of course, yeah, I mean, we all know I did, and I'm not gonna lie, I did tear up again. I'm like, cool, now I gotta watch Sarah die again by getting shot. And I mean, man, both of those actors, Pedro Pascal and I don't remember her name now. The girl played Sarah. I think she acted it like, she's hyperventilating. She's in pain. She just it's horrifying.
I think I read that's Tandy Newton's daughter.
Okay,
I forget her name. I'll have to look it
up. The guy who played Tommy. I want to look some of these up because again, I know. Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, who played Ellie and Joel in the game, are in the series. We haven't seen them yet. But I was wondering if the guy who played Tommy, who has like the most F-bombs, I think, out of every character so far, which is hilarious. But I was wondering if like either he's got the voice or like he could be the voice actor, but he sounds just like Tommy. And so did I think Tess when we got to her. But the only thing I noticed was it seemed like a lot of the stuff was mirrored. Like just me noticing weird, like the way like Joel's holding Sarah and like the way he falls on the ground and just kind of puts his hands up. It's like backwards in the game. So it's kind of cool that it is like quite literally just a parallel of the same thing. Yeah, all the sets, the town, everything looked pretty spot on. I'm sure I'll talk about the city of Boston here in a second. Yeah, they still made me tear up a little bit watching Sarah die. Because I mean, what a way to have that happen, man, on your birthday of all fucking days.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I thought.
I can keep talking. If you need to find something, I can keep talking.
Well, keep talking for a minute, sure. I mean, I was kind of hoping just to focus on the original scene, but I mean, you've got plenty of notes, so let's go into it.
Oh, no, I can keep. I got, no, where's, hold on. I have 1968, I have 2003 section, and I have 20, where'd it go? 2023 somewhere. More stuff I noticed. They actually said, I think we've kind of established, one question was like, how old is Joel? Because like in the first part, and then when we get to him later in the main part of the game, he flat out said he was 36. I'm like, yeah, I think that's about correct. He's in his like mid 30s, and he's in his 50s in the later part. I saw the I think it was Desert Storm, the combat vet sticker on the back of Tommy and Joel's truck, and I'm like, I don't know who that's for. Is that for? Well, I think it's Tommy's truck, right? Or is it Joel's? Because like,
I think it's Joel's truck.
I can believe it's Joel's because later in the game they did like. You're about to get attacked. You meet up with Tommy, and he says, Tommy says to Joel's like, you still remember how to fight? He's like, yeah. And they run out there. I'm like, well, it's been 20 years in an apocalypse. You know how to fight if you're still alive. But I'm like, oh, that might be that hint towards, oh, he knew how to fight beforehand. You know. They gave Tommy that signature like scope bolt action rifle he had in the game. That was kind of cool. I noticed that. It's the same POV from the truck as in the game, like when you're Sarah and she's like looking around and everything. They're going down the road. They said the barn. They still the barn burning when they go by and like, oh my god, that's what's his name? And they said it was Jimmy. I'm like, no, Jimmy was the neighbor in the game that you shot first, not this old lady or whatever. They got small things. I'm not mad. Just whatever. They're still the same beats in this as there was in the game, and it was written by the Neil Druckmann who did the game, so. I can't complain. It's like Scott Cawthorne, who's doing Five Nights at Freddy's. He made the game, so I can't really argue with you if you're the creator who made the thing in the first place.
That is Sandy Newton's. I can never pronounce her first name right. Is it Thandui? I don't know. The way I spelled it's funny, but it is Sandy Newton's daughter. Her name is Nico Parker.
All right. I think that's just about. I mean, just about. Well, I have for the 2003 section. Yeah, like I said, the way the infected move, man, that's creepy. It's just like they snap right to, like they look and they're just attentive, which again, it's creepy as shit. I don't know if I mean, because it looked like the grandma was like biting on the person's vocal cords. I'm kind of, and like even in the town when you're seeing this happen, I'm like, why is it just dead quiet? You'd think somebody would be screaming, somebody would be like flailing. I'm like. Nothing, and then like the zombie just sits straight up and then chases them.
Were they different? I hear you saying they move funny. Were they different than you expected then? Like in a big way?
Just in their speed, I guess. I know these are recent infected, and I know like they did that in Walking Dead. Like the infected are a little more mobile, I guess, for being a dead person when they first get bit, as opposed to like if someone who's been infected for a long time, you lose a lot of motor skills, you start decaying. I don't want to talk about the current year, but I mean, if you see a clicker, that's what happens to you. Is eventually you get so deteriorated and so overgrown by this fungus that grows in your brain. So that was kind of cool. And the grandma's like biting that. I thought it was like the person's like tendons and shit, but like no, that looks like the cordyceps shit coming out of their mouth. Like it was like the fungal crap coming out of her mouth. Because again, it grows out of your brain, like grows out of your head, and overgrows like your whole body. Eventually. If everyone's seen Pirates of the Caribbean, it's like, yep, you become part of the ship. It looked like that. Think like Pirates of the Caribbean. Like you become kind of like that. You just kind of get overgrown by this whole thing. But I don't know. I don't know if I was just expecting them to move that fast. I mean, in the game, they do run at you and they do just kind of, swing at you like zombies do. But yeah, it was a weird bridge, almost like 28 Days Later to maybe almost World War Z type zombies, but. I don't know. When we start seeing the other types of like infected, I don't know. Maybe we'll see like when we see a clicker or a bloater or something like that. But
well, Tex, what did you think of like the initial few minutes as like the breakdown of how everything starts off before we end up finding ourselves in
Yeah, I thought it was shot really well. Like like I said when we were, pre-show, when you start watching this, it doesn't. I mean, obviously, you know what you're watching. It's an apocalypse type show, but it feels more like a family drama. You've got a single father of a teenage daughter, and he's working double shifts. And, we're just establishing character. I'm not the biggest fan of Pedro Pascal. I mean, but I really enjoyed his work in that first segment. That I was instantly a Joel fan just from that alone. And, with the daughter going to get the watch and doing all the things, and you've seen in the background the ambulances, the helicopters when she's going to get the watch fixed. We're closing shop. Well, it's only 3:15 or whatever he says. And then they're rushing home, and then she goes to make the raisin cookies. Which, good God, I would rather go to a zombie apocalypse than eat raisin cookies. That's disgusting. But that's neither here nor there. So
that's the real apocalypse right there.
That's the real apocalypse. Just give me some dadgum chocolate chips. I mean, is it that expensive? Come on. But no, this was an excellent setup. First few minutes. I wish that whole beginning part was just the first episode. I wanted to stay in that. I like the subtle little, the sirens, the stuff in the background. Obviously, we know what's coming. But I really felt, this is right up there with some of the best opening zombie apocalypse stuff. This few minutes, the money that they spent, the cinematography they used, the CGI that was done, obviously, with the planes crashing and the everything else, the anarchy and the beginning of the chaos that you get to see. Excellent done. I knew the money they were putting into this, that it was going to be high quality. And the girl that plays the daughter, I thought she was excellent. I mean, not just full too much here more, but I liked her more than I do Ellie. Much better of an actress, I thought. I felt more. I liked her more than I did Ellie, but we'll get there. Did
you see the stuff after the episode?
I did not know.
Okay, there was like little snippets after the episode, and they do mention that like there's obviously supposed to be that big spectrum of like Sarah compared to Ellie. Like they're right. They're like almost complete opposites. And like really, you think like Sarah's kind of the protagonist in the first part, really. And then you get to Joel, and it's like, yeah, you're not. Ellie is supposed to be, that way. It does obviously when you're put together in this kind of situation for as long as you are. It's like, yeah, it starts to change.
The one part that surprised me the most, I didn't know this started out in Texas. I didn't know it started out in Austin.
Oh.
Whenever I first started watching your gameplay through, I pick up the apocalypse had already started. I thought it was already in Boston or wherever. I didn't know it started in Texas. Yeah. That's one thing that did surprise me. I'm like, oh, hey, Austin's on fire. Cool. Let's get rid of some hippies. I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's why Tess calls him Tex all the time, or calls him Texas. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense now. Yeah, but like I said, I didn't see the opening segments of when you were playing. I came in a few minutes late, but shot really well. Great opening. I wanted more, and I like that 19. I would love to see a prequel series set in 1968. I think you could do something with that. That couple minute scene was amazing. I like timepiece stuff like that. So the opening was incredible. I mean, of course, when Joel's kid gets killed, I like how she dies better in the video game. I wasn't as big of a fan of this version. I liked it better in the game, but that's just a nitpick.
What was different?
I don't know. It just hit. Doesn't she die differently? I thought she died in the car crash or something.
No, it's the same. Like the car crash is the reason for why he picks her up.
Okay. I thought she died in the car crash.
No.
I thought. Okay, well then that's on me. Then never mind. Okay.
It was the same. I think I put this down later, but I appreciate a lot of the dialogue and the same back and forth are the same exact way they are in the game.
Well, Joel's daughter.
I felt like it was more active when she got shot because like the one in the game, she's like, she's like in pain, she's making noise and she like screams, but like I'm like, I don't know, this girl made me more so feel like she was shot like for real, like she was hyperventilating and like panicking. I'm like, yeah, you'd be sitting there fucking freaking out,
right?
And I'm glad it was still the same. Hey, Tommy comes up, bat, Gets them. I'm like, yes.
Joe's daughter she kind of breaks the trope of kids in horror where they're basically useless and they don't really help or do anything.
Right.
She wasn't quite that bad. So I guess that's why I like the character as much as I did. But, obviously she has to die for the story. That's the way.
Yeah, I was like, that's the whole pinnacle of the whole character for Joel. And that's,
right.
Yeah, you're supposed to, it's like if you can make people get attached to your character and it's only for the first 5 minutes of a show or whatever it is. Like first 10, 15 minutes you play over in the game, you're supposed to be attached to this person, and you are, and then you start to cry when she dies. I'm like, God damn.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I would have been perfectly okay with a whole beginning episode of pre-breakdown of society. I thought it was that good. And normally I'm like, okay, let's get to the gory stuff. This was opposite for me. Right. That's what I'm saying. I wanted more, but I thought it was excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you guys said about the action, the way it was all shot, the CGI. I thought was fantastic, but it does the one thing that I always say that you need to do to get everybody involved from the jump, and that's attach yourself to emotions. Mm-hmm. So you see this guy, obviously a single father. It hasn't explained yet where this girl's mother is, but I mean, we assume that she's died previously.
I know what happens to her.
You know what happens, but it hasn't been explained in the show yet, so I don't want to go too much. So I don't want to.
Well, in the game, I mean, in
the game, yeah, I'm sure that will get explained, and shows like this tend to have flashback episodes, which sometimes annoy me. But
they are doing more though.
It does give
you background characters. Terrible about that.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the one thing that this does. It's like you get your heart set on this guy who's just working every day, paycheck to paycheck. He's trying to do right by his daughter. He wants to do more, but I mean, what more can a regular guy do? And then all this crazy shit pops off, and without them knowing which way is up, without them understanding anything about what the hell's going on, they find themselves in this crazy situation. The daughter dies, and you immediately get emotionally attached to this father who's already lost, presumably the mother of his daughter and now his daughter. You get emotionally attached to this guy. You start to feel for this guy. You feel his heartbreak for him, and that's the instant attachment to this character. And that's what a lot of this. I mean, the main purpose of this whole thing is not just to set up the world, but to set up why he is who he is. I mean, you get a taste of it at the beginning, and then we see visually all this stuff happening. And now, when we do end up in Boston, we're already on this guy's side in every way that we need to be for them to throw the story at us, whichever way they're going to throw it at us. So that to me was the best thing about it. Is I felt instantly attached to this guy, and this is coming from a guy who, remember, I've played the game for a total of like 10 or 15 minutes my entire life. I'm not like, I don't have Jeremy's level of expertise in the story and the. I've
played it 10 or 15 times all the way through. My knowledge of this thing is novice compared to Jeremy's at best, but I mean, but if I'm coming into this very cold on the characters, which I kind of am, I am 100% on this guy's side. Even seeing kind of like after we see in Boston where he does some shadier stuff, it's like, even then it's like, I understand this guy. I identify with him more than I identify with anybody else in the first episode, because we've already been through this part of his journey with him. So yeah, that's the most important thing that this opening sequence does, is it immediately gets this guy ingrained into your psyche, which I thought was really, it was all very, very well done, very well shot, high emotion. The writing's good too. A lot of times, I don't mind action style stuff getting a little silly and leaning on the actiony stuff, because that's part of the point. But it's like, this was really good writing in this opening sequence. That, like, the conversations that she's having with these older people next door, they're not for nothing. I mean, they took a few minutes of that to introduce us to her and get us attached to her, so that her death is more meaningful when it finally happens. Because it wouldn't be the same if it's just like, oh yeah, we see this guy, they're at Burger King having a milkshake and whatever, and then something happens and she dies. We haven't really had a chance to attach ourselves to that girl, so we don't feel it the same way. But going through the details, her fixing the watch, giving it to him, taking a few minutes to build that relationship between these two characters, it makes us feel what happens in the next few minutes that much more. And drives it that much deeper into our emotions. So yeah, very well done. The first 10, 15 minutes of this I thought was phenomenal. And then of course we find ourselves in Boston 20 years after the events of what happens in Austin. Obviously everything's gone straight to hell in a handcart since then. There is now martial law dictatorship running the US, presumably the world.
when we see Joel kind of just getting along in ways that he has to get along, and he's got plans to go find his friend. Now, remind me, this is the friend that we saw in the first part of the show, right?
His brother.
He was on the run. Yeah,
the brother. Yeah,
his brother,
yeah,
not a friend. His best friend. His brother.
brother,
Tommy.
Tommy, right? Yeah,
so
Tommy.
So obviously he's trying to make plans to get out of this quarantine zone to go out into the dangerous parts of the world to go make contact to catch up with his brother. And that's kind of what is driving him at the moment. And we get introduced to a bunch of new characters. And I'm drawing a blank. What's the name of the girl that he's hooked up with all this shit going on? Tess. Yeah, I feel, Jeremy, I don't want you to spoil this for me, but I feel like she's not going to last long.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Look,
by the way.
It's an apocalyptic show. We've seen The Walking Dead. You don't get attached to anybody. You know that, all right?
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty. Well,
I won't say one way or the other, but don't get attached to anybody.
But yeah, that's one of the fun things about these shows, though, is that from one episode to the next, anybody can go.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the
we should have killed his kid in the first episode. Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why Walking Dead has lasted as long as it has, because the reality, if that situation were ever to come to pass in real life, the reality is there's nobody that would make it that long. Yeah, I mean, the most prepared person probably wouldn't last forever. So I mean, everybody is always at risk, and everybody is eventually gonna die by way of whatever situation is in front of them. So I dig that, but it's like I also noticed she wasn't really in any of the marketing. So it's like the first time I really saw her was like in the show, and I'm like, I feel like because they didn't market her, she's not gonna be around a lot. But
I didn't find her likable whatsoever. There were her and the girl that plays Ellie. It wasn't the characters I had the problem with. The women that portrayed them in the way that it was, I just did not relate whatsoever. For whatever reason, I mean, obviously she's kind of like when she's dealing with, Joel answers to me and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know, for some reason she rubbed me the wrong way. So obviously I've seen far enough into the game. I know her fate, but I don't know. I
did get to that. Yeah.
The portrayal of the actress, and I can't remember her name. I tried to remember, but I can't remember. I wasn't a fan of it. Her portrayal with Pedro Pascal's Joel. That seemed like that was more of a relationship of necessity, not that they actually liked each other. It's kind of the way it seemed.
But in that situation, though, wouldn't every relationship be a relationship of necessity? It's all about survival.
Yeah,
at that point,
but you would think after 20 years,
kids.
Well, and that's
right. Oh no. Oh, go ahead, Jeremy.
No, but no, I'll talk for like another fucking 20 minutes.
Okay.
Go ahead. Trust me.
Obviously, I'm not expecting like the love story of the year here, but it seemed like the two characters didn't like each other whatsoever, like when they're interacting. And that's one of the things that kind of threw me off about it. And I don't know, it's just Joel, he kind of overpowers like any scene that he's in, but that one scene of Tess, like, he answers to me, he won't mess with you, blah, 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 blah. To me, it throws it off a little bit. I just don't know what it was. Maybe it's that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure that their relationship is anything more than necessity. I mean,
they don't really. Yeah,
look, I mean, honestly, in a situation like this, it's all about survival. So you're not trying to find someone to hang out with and watch the football game and drink a few beers and have a few laughs.
Right.
It's all about what can this person do to give me my next meal? What can this person do to give me the battery that I need? Like what he's looking for in the episode, things like that. You're not looking for someone to have a good time with. You're looking for someone to accentuate the really shitty life you have into something that's just slightly better. So. Yeah, that's what their relationship is to me, and I get it. I mean, it makes perfect sense for the situation they're in. But what did you guys think? Just the way that they developed this crazy like dictatorship that they're living in Boston. What did you guys think of all the scenes there?
I mean, I could say the best thing they came out of the gate with was like I see this little kid walking through some overgrown bit of land and walks up to the Boston LZ, and I'm like, who is this kid? What's going on? What's happening? And I'm like, why are you well, she had like some weird, that was very 2003. She had those weird like Osiris like high tops on. I thought it was like, she looked kind of like Ellie at first because she had the red shirt on and the jeans. And I was like, I know it's not her, but because when they introduced Ellie, they showed a little Converse. I'm like, no, that's her. That's her thing. But when that kid comes in and it's the soldiers outside standing guard see her and they see the kid collapse and like, oh shit, bring her in there or I don't know if it was a boy or girl. And the kid's clutching this patch and they're spinning the patch around. I was trying to look at it. I'm like, quit moving the quit. I want to see what it is. And then I realized, oh, it's a patch of the Fedra soldiers that we see that are in there under that's kind of this military government that's going on in this LZ. And they even have the things that we see later where they like stick you in the neck and that shows, okay, you infected or are you good?
Yeah,
and like
it goes green or red.
Yeah, and you don't see it, but you see it behind the kid and it turns red. And I was like, oh no. And then, I don't know what else you're going to do, but like I see the woman talking to the kid like, hey, so we're going to get you some medicine. We're going to make you feel better. Get you somewhere.
Get you your favorite meal or whatever they said.
Yeah. Get you your favorite meal and some toys. And I'm like, oh, that's bedside manners, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah, you're going to go sleep. You sleep for a while. You're not going to.
That reminded me of the scenes with the Walking Dead with when they were in the town with season 3 where they were going against in the prison with the just the way they're lying to people and they're going to die. That was really cool. So,
I mean, yeah, how they introduced the governor. hey, I'm cool.
Yeah, governor.
Boom.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, like, oh yeah, no, I'm totally not going to cut your head off and put it in a fish tank. That's totally not going to happen. I got those vibes. Yeah.
I love that shot of the governor when he's sitting in the chair. He's got all the heads and
oh my god!
He's like, damn it, there's nothing on TV. I'm like,
right? Yeah.
Every channel, same thing. No, yeah. I was like, oh crap, this kid's gonna die, and I'm like, kind of do what you got to do, I guess. I mean, you can't take the chance, I suppose. So it made me feel like, oh yeah, this feels pretty accurate. It's like, and then we jump to like seeing Joel working on the big fire pit for bodies, which I don't know why you wouldn't maybe do that outside the city a little bit.
Yeah,
that probably smells terrible.
Why is that in the middle of town where everybody lives?
I'm sure it's not in the town square, but I mean, it's like, why is it just right? I don't know. If you had the resources to do something off site, I mean, you'd have to build it up, make it secure, make sure it doesn't go to and from would be a hassle probably, but I get it. But it may be on some outskirt of town because, again, that'd probably smell terrible and it'd probably be a terrible job. But yeah, you see him doing that, and you see they open up the back of that truck, and the woman's like, "I can't do it." I'm like, "It's the fucking kid, isn't it?" And I'm like, "Yep, damn."
Well, I did have one question that kind of connects with that though. Their source of money, the scripts they call them or whatever, like, is that the form of money that this new dictatorship has decided upon? Is how you get paid? You buy food or like
it's ration cards. It's ration cards in the game, so I'm assuming that's what those little things were. I don't think it did say what it was, but
they call them scripts in the show. Like, well, we'll give you half off scripts for the pills, like and whatever.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know if that was like this community or if that's like in this world. That's the new money system.
That's just in this community. They have like lines set up for like it's probably just like you see people standing in line for government cheese, or you don't have
right. Yeah.
They're all standing in line with these couple cards they got from working like Joel said, which one pays more, scooping shit out of the sewers. It's like, yeah, cool. And you get 2 cards, like, what I mean, they probably don't have much to go around. You don't do much for it, which
right.
Yeah, that's probably just the economy that exists, at least in this this particular safe zone.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, then you kind of understand where Joel's come from. Like, well, there's other ways to get more of this, and probably more shady ways. But hey, you got to survive. So,
yeah. I thought that scene was really interesting as well. It's like, I mean, remember, you don't really know what that test really indicates until you get to later in the episode where they actually run the test on the 3 when they get caught outside the quarantine zone. But that scene starts to give you a little bit of hope, like maybe they've kind of gotten a handle on everything and maybe everything's okay. And then you get to the scene where they're burning the bodies. And at first when the one person looked and said, I just can't do this anymore, I just thought maybe that was the one point where that person broke. Like the world kept crashing down around them. Everything that they knew for the first half of their life, all being destroyed and the world being just a train wreck now. That was just the point where they were like, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. I'm whatever. And like that might have been the point where they would run for the fences or something like that, just to potentially get shot and end it all, do the whole suicide by cop thing. But when they do pan the camera around and see the kid, they focus it on the shoes, obviously, because the shoes were what they were focusing on a lot when the kid was in the show earlier, in the episode earlier. I was just like, damn, that sucks. But it's a good again, it's one of those necessary reminders narratively that tells you that this situation is very, very bad. Another thing it tells you is that you feel like Joel's on autopilot at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's like because whereas normally, I mean, especially after we have experienced the first part of the show with him and all the stuff going on with his daughter, you would think that this guy's got a little bit of a heart, but he just kind of like robotically picks the kid up and tosses him in the fire pit like whatever. I mean, why do I need to still have a heart when clearly this entire thing that's happening around me is
nothing you can do.
There's nothing to have a heart for anymore. So that's a point where he's kind of already you feel like anyway that he's broken beyond repair.
You would have to go cold to do that job and not have any emotion towards it. I mean, this guy or kid that he's tossing in this pit, that may have been his neighbor or best friend or somebody he cared about. And I mean, speaking about Joel being numb, I mean, let's not forget when he's sitting at the desk and chugging whiskey and a handful of pills at a time. I can't think of much easier ways to go numb than doing that. So,
at the end of the day, you still got to sleep. So,
right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean,
you got to do what you got to do.
The trauma and the PTSD that I'm sure everybody has in this kind of world, you got to do something to medicate, and handle that. I see it.
Yeah, but and obviously, you talk about the medicating. Obviously, there's some other stuff that Joe's been doing on the side. He's selling Vicodin.
Right.
Obviously, there's somebody with there's obviously somebody with a good hooch set up to make some good moonshine. He's obviously got a bottle of the good homemade stuff that he's obviously dropping a few pills himself and drinking them down to kind of numb the emotional pain of everything that he has been through up to this point. We definitely start this show seeing Joe at the bottom. I mean, he's not in a good position. He's only really got one mission in life, and that's to try to find his brother. And that leads us to his mission as it starts out in the episode that drastically changes over the course of this episode. But he's trying to put together some kind of a vehicle where he can get through the infected zone to I believe it's Wyoming.
Yeah,
where his brother is supposedly.
Tommy's out west. Yeah.
So I mean. I don't know, Jeremy, how closely does this resemble what his motivation is in the game? Because again, very little. Yeah, very little.
Trust me, I had something to say about that.
Well, you go right. Nicole Grim Tuesday here. I love it.
Yeah, you got the floor right now. I mean, how closely does this resemble what we got in the game at this point?
That's where it differs. That does not happen. But again, that's not enough for me to. When I thought about it, I'm like, okay, that still kind of makes sense. And you would think that, yes, since when he talks to that radio guy, he's like, oh, I haven't heard from Tommy in like 3 months. And even a few days or a week in this kind of world would be way too long. You know what I mean? So if you didn't hear from your brother for 3 months, that's probably pretty concerning, especially with the fact that he knows he's way out west in Wyoming and he's over in Boston. So now that is where it's different. The way you meet Tommy again in the game is a little different. It doesn't happen until much later, and it's kind of more so out of a necessity. And you do get because I wrote down, I'm like, it does set up that he feels like, there's already a strained relationship with Tommy and Joel because they do. Well, I guess they did say it later when Joel's talking to Marlene, where he's like, yeah, wasn't he one of your guys? And your shit is what separated us in the first place. Tommy was a Firefly, and then he even kind of said, screw these guys, I'm going to go off on my own. And it did drive a bigger wedge between Joel and Tommy. So I'm like, I understand but it's still his brother. He still wants to keep in contact with him. That wasn't any sort of motivation that early that he was trying to find Tommy, but it makes sense. And I'm like, yeah, he's going to try and find him. And his whole motivation is that he wants to find a battery for this car. Which this guy Robert has, so it still ties into. You do see Robert, but it wasn't between between them, it wasn't about a car battery. It was about a whole shipment of guns. So that's why I was like, okay, that's different. It's not a bunch of guns we're disputing over him selling that he didn't have any right to sell. It's a car battery. I'm like, well, yeah, that's your way out. Where's my note start? Jesus Christ. Yeah, now that was different, but I'm glad like I said, it is setting up that you already know that Tommy and Joel have probably had some words and haven't spoken to each other in quite some time. But I understand him wanting to get out. And then as I'm trying to jump too far ahead, but I'm sure we're going to talk about Marlene because that's also her, she also has the same kind of motivation as Joel. And that's what creates the thing that sets it all off. So,
well, even pre-apocalypse, Joel and Tommy have a strained relationship. Joel wakes up, for his, breakfast or his birthday breakfast, excuse me. And, oh, damn it, Tommy, oh, well, Wicked has hired another guy for framing or we don't get paid. And he has to go get him out of jail. You can tell Tommy's kind of like the younger brother that doesn't have his stuff together. So there's cracks already end of the world. And I can only imagine how much worse it gets, with 20 years later in those kind of harsh conditions. So, but yeah, I mean, if I'm in that world and I don't hear from somebody within a week, you're probably dead. I mean, let's just be real here. I mean, I don't want to use Walking Dead here too many times, but how long did they look for Carol's daughter for a whole season? And she was in the barn dead the whole time, just hanging out. So, we'll see how this show goes. I'm sure they'll play different, but yeah.
Because like Shane was telling me, he's like, dude, 48 hours and you're looking for a body. He's like, that was before all this. He's like, no, dude, she could be already dead. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that's that's one thing I liked about this. I don't know if zombies existed in this world in like lore or entertainment like they do on the other side, but they treat it as if like they've never seen anything like this before, supernaturally, obviously. So they play it very real. They play it as if it's just another drama, which is one of the things I thought was really cool about this show. And, I can't commend the production value enough of this stuff. When you see what Boston looks like after the apocalypse, I like how everything's overgrown. Obviously we're 20 years later. I don't know if they created sets, like big set pieces for this or what they did, but it looks really cool with how they handled all of it.
It's not like Walking Dead where some zombies mowing the grass every other week or something.
Right.
All nice.
Yeah. No, this was like the world that Joel lives in. I mean, when he's picking up the floorboards out of his house to get he pulls out a hammer or crowbar and a bottle of whiskey or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's got his little stash there in the floor. There was a lot. The world building, like they didn't cover
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The stuff that they cover in this scene. Yeah, well, he's going, Joel just doing his thing. Obviously, he's got Tommy on his mind. And it's just, you feel for the guy, like Frank said a few minutes ago. But I thought it was excellent how they handled this part that we're talking about.
The only thing I can say, like, to that, Tommy is the younger brother. And
right.
Again, I can say from the game, but I'm like, I don't know if it's going to happen in the show, but I assume because there is an interaction with Tommy and Joel where he, like, Joel comes to him. He's like, I need help, bro. Like, I do. And of course, he's kind of like, no, like, we got our own problems. He even like grabs him. He's like, it's not time for you to sit here and play the whiny little brother. I'm like, yeah. He's like, you're going to act like this right now. I'm like, right. So
that's funny.
I hadn't gotten to that part, but he does tell him that, like, dude, the world's falling to shit and you got time to fucking be a whiny little brother right now. I'm like, yeah.
Well, basically, what drives a lot of the first stuff in Boston is they're trying to get this truck together, and apparently a car battery is a pretty precious commodity at this point in the apocalypse. But some deal is made. They get double crossed on it, so they go to get this guy to extract a little bit of revenge, and of course get the battery they need to
Yeah.
and of course to get the battery they need. But when they get there, some shit has obviously popped off. But there's one question that I had as they're going through the underbelly of this building to get there. They see this one infected person that's kind of been grown up against the wall, like this fungus has kind of completely overrun their body. I'm left with the question that I'm sure is going to be answered at some point, but it's significant for me for the way I think all this stuff would play out. Is what is the time frame between when you get this to when you become one of the zombie people, infected people, and when it completely overcomes your body? Because the way I figure it, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near that guy who was grown into the wall, because I figure he would still be infectious, but they seem to walk right by him like, oh well, that guy died, no big deal, but it's still got the fungus and shit growing out from his body, which is glued up against this wall. I mean, it seemed odd to me. It seemed out of place that they were so nonchalant, just not bothered by walking by what I would imagine is a petri dish that is big enough to easily infect them both. I mean, granted, neither one of them walked into it and licked it or anything. But I mean, I wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't want to be within a,
tastes like snozberries.
I wouldn't want to be within a few feet of this thing without some kind of protection. I mean, what is the exact time frame for this infection to get from getting it to that point where we see that person growing up against the wall?
I think it does vary. I mean, that's kind of. Now he didn't look like a clicker. He looked like you still saw his face, but like it's something that he got stuck up into on this wall. And I mean, sometimes fungal infections and stuff like that can grow pretty rapidly. But and I think Joel even says like to Tess, like, oh, he wasn't here last time when you came through, was he? And she said no. And I'm like, well, when was that? Like, how long? Was that yesterday? Was that a year ago? Because Joel does say like, well, last time I was outside of here was a year ago. I'm like, I don't know how often they use this place to. I assume they use it probably to smuggle stuff or do what they need to do, but it may have been some time. Now that is the thing that I'm kind of surprised. It seemed because like in Joel's flashlight, you can start to see it in the air. I'm like, that's what I was saying. Like there are spores that, that's what's in the air and that's what you breathe that shit in.
That was my biggest question. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I would imagine that if that guy's not like sealed up or anything, and they don't have any hazmat suits.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, there would still be some air circulation in there. Those spores, that's all it would take for one of them to get infected.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't show the spore, because in the game you do have to, like, you'll see areas that are heavily just almost like a fog of just spores, and you have to put the gas mask down on, and then you walk. You don't necessarily need a hazmat, but I mean, like, you don't want to breathe that in for sure.
And
they didn't do the gas mask yet, which is kind of odd. Yeah.
That kind of goes back to the scene where they're setting the bodies on fire. I mean, you're taking a dead body.
Pretty deep.
And you're just tossing it in there, and you see these gigantic puffs of smoke, and God knows what else is in it with these infected people.
Unless maybe it burns it out. Maybe.
Well, yeah, but
I wouldn't be doing it. Hell no.
That fire didn't look hot enough to burn all. Like, see, obviously this is an unrealistic situation, and I'm asking realistic questions to it. But this is what I do when I watch zombie stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. It actually go this way. I'm one of those kind of nerds. But like, I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, you've got like, and obviously I was anti-mask as it was with what we just went through. I didn't even wear one. But I feel like if a fungus is literally turning people into flesh eaters, you might take that differently, and we're just throwing those spores back in the air from where we live. Like, can't we transport them a mile away or something so we maybe have a chance? Maybe we just throw them in the ocean. You're right there in Boston, so you're near the water, right? So maybe there's other ways to handle this. I had questions about that.
I mean, Joel did have like a bandana over his face, but still, I don't really know what.
Yeah, but that thing looked filthy. Come on, that thing's got God knows what on it.
Wiping sweat off of himself.
There ain't anybody taking a bath or washing themselves in this apocalypse. So
it's
not
just regularly.
One of those situations. Right? Yeah. Like I said, ain't nobody clean here. So.
No.
Well, let's talk about now. Let's move on to like the Fireflies, this group of resistance fighters that are trying to fight against not the virus necessarily. And there you go, right there. Jeremy's all in uniform, ready to go.
Look for the light.
Right.
But they're trying to fight against the oppressive government that has kind of grown out of this whole post-apocalyptic dictatorship thing that has happened. they obviously, when we are introduced to them, we're also introduced to the girl. I'm going to blank her name. Ellie, is that her name? Marlene. Marlene.
I'll get you a big thing. Just every character. Here you go.
Yeah, I meant to be more prepared with like names and stuff on a piece of paper in front of me, so I wouldn't look so silly. But
I'll get you a big board right in front of you.
But yeah, we're introduced not only to them, but to the girl who is apparently mankind's last hope. Now, she is infected. It is made very clear later on in the episode. But there's obviously something about her physiology, something about her physically, where this fungus is not taking hold. Yeah, she does not die. She might be a carrier, but she's not symptomatic. She's asymptomatic. I don't know if I guess that's the word we're going to go ahead and go with, given everything we've all been through the last couple of years. Yeah. Immunity, I guess, is another good word. But one of my questions is, and I'm sure they're going to address this later on the show, but how did they come across this girl to begin with? It does mention that she was going to the military school.
I know how they know. It's killing me.
I mean, because I would imagine they have some ears inside this military school that she mentions in the episode that she's in, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I would imagine that a lot of these people probably went through that same school. They seem to have some kind of military training. I mean,
what would you do? What would you do with kids? You wouldn't really necessarily send them to like a typical school in this apocalypse. You'd be sent them to some sort of military training type school, to be able to live in this world. You wouldn't be teaching them here. How do you solve for X? Like, no, how do you shoot a clicker in the face and not die?
I think you can teach them both. I mean, I teach my kids.
Adjust the angle, the windage. Okay, I got them.
X times 3 equals shoot it in the head. That's what that's what they're teaching them.
I teach my kids math, and I teach them how to shoot. So I mean,
there is some math involved. So I guess
there's importance in knowing both those things. But
how many rounds do I need to take out this pack of clickers? That's the kind of math.
Well, too many. I'll tell you what.
Count how many rounds in a gunfight. You know how many rounds you have in your magazine. So you got to know that familiar sound you make when the magazine runs out. That kind of thing.
Click.
But
it's accuracy by volume. Damn it, that's how you take care of clickers in that situation.
There you go.
But yeah, my question is, and again, I'm sure this will be exposed later on as we get farther and farther into the show. It's like, are they really good guys, or are they just kind of like they say they fight against the dictatorship that has grown from this whole situation, but are they really just after being the next dictators? That's one question that I'm left with after this.
I got that feeling.
Is and
you're
also
not a good guy, but you're not really a bad guy.
Also, how organized is this thing? Because I mean, right now the only workable communication that we've seen so far in this episode is like old school, like ham radios, CBs, and stuff like that. Cell phone systems obviously gone. Internet's obviously gone. I mean,
they have like towers apparently that can communicate. But
other than smoke signals, you don't really have a really good way of sending an important message over a long distance fairly quickly. I mean, Pony Express probably isn't really a good option at this point either. But are they going to end up being kind of bad guys in what potentially could be a season 2?
Not in season 2, but something might happen at the end. I didn't play through the whole game yet, but I mean, I know what happens at the end. I don't want to ruin it for you guys. I'm saying I know something happens at the end. I mean, it's kind of like, well, who's your best option? This military dictators, martial law type people, or these supposed freedom fighters? I mean, Ellie even calls her like a terrorist, and she's like, a terrorist? Really? I'm like, you kind of are in a way, to be fair.
Well, there's that old saying that one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter.
Exactly.
So.
No one's the bad guy in their own story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all point of view. So,
if anybody's ever seen any zombie apocalypse deal, whether it's the mall security guy in Dawn of the Dead, or the governor in Walking Dead, or any other myriad of, I mean, even in Night of the Living Dead, the townspeople and the sheriff who are shooting the dead people in the head, they're good guys until that very last scene, and they shoot the one living guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's often in these zombie apocalypse, media, there's no real good guys. Everybody kind of devolves to their self-serving purposes. The Fireflies very much feel like one of those organizations. They may be fighting for the people, but
I mean,
to what extent?
We're not cutting people's face off Texas Chainsaw Style and just walking among, walkers and whispering to each other. I'm like, yeah, we didn't go that far, but we have some
the Whisperers are a pretty cool group. If I had to join any, that's not a bad idea. I'm just saying. I would much rather be a whisperer than a wolf and carve a W in my forehead.
God.
So, you know,
if I couldn't choose Rick's group, if I had to pick anyone's, I think I'd rather go with like the Saviors. It's like, honestly, you're just trying to do.
Yeah, but then you have to eat people. But then you have to, you know.
No, the Saviors don't eat people. That was the people from Terminus.
Terminus. Yeah, I'm thinking of
hell no.
Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm getting my groups confused.
No,
I don't know.
think
Either
I'd
way,
be with them. Yeah.
These Firefly people, I kind of took it as like a. They all kind of serve under one name, but each outpost kind of services themselves in their area. Is that kind of on point here, or am I off?
Yeah, to kind of, then the situation they're in, it's like there may not be a place like Boston, in Texas again, or in maybe a minor spoiler, maybe out in Colorado. It could be different to a different situation, but like if that kind of maybe mildly answers Frank's question, I'm like, yeah, maybe all the way out in Colorado there's something. So with Fireflies. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have some sort of, martial law thing going on in a cordoned off section of some major city, with rules of, I mean, go back a little bit. Like we even saw, this wasn't in the game, but it's like they take this pretty seriously. Like they just straight up hung 3 people in public just for trying to escape the zone. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Crap.
They don't seem. They're not a government of the people by the people. Like they're not. They're very much self-serving here. Yeah.
Well, I guess in a way there is something kind of like that in the game where you're walking through town with Tess, about to go find Robert. Like there's stuff going on the sides. If you stop to watch it for a second, there's a bunch of people that get yanked out of this building by these soldiers, and they're put on the ground. They're like, we gotta check them. All right, check each one. And of course, some guy runs up. He's like, I'm not doing this. He runs off and they shoot him right in the street, right in front of you. You're like, anyone else want to, try and run? And I'm like, oh shit.
So how often do they get checked? Is this like a daily thing where they poke them in the neck and check them, or what?
It's probably a protocol if anyone comes in and out, for sure. And I'm sure, like, if there's, because like I said, it's like there's some semblance of normalcy. Like people have jobs to do. They have some sort of economy in this place. So I imagine there may be like job security risks too. It's like maybe you get checked.
Somebody's got to shovel the shit, right?
Someone literally has to shovel shit or burn the shit. I imagine maybe if you did like Joel's job of burning the bodies, you might want to check people each day. Cause like you said, if you breathe that in and you get infected, you're going in the pit tomorrow as a dead person. So, and they obviously have some sort of drugs to put people down. At least you saw that they syringed that kid, and So
like I said, anti-heroes, they're not all the way bad. They're just a little bad. They're just, they're not quite governor yet, but they're on their way.
Do you agree with their cause or not? I mean, even that one guy comes right up to Joel and he's like, you tell me find the light, I'm going to break your jaw. And he's like, never mind, all right.
I thought that was kind of funny.
I was like, damn it, all right.
I was kind of thinking of that scene in one of the X-Men movies where Professor X and Magneto go to find Logan in the bar. His one little appearance in that movie. He's just like, "Are you Logan?" He goes, "Go fuck yourself," and they turn around. That's his big appearance in the movie.
Yeah,
but getting back to them going to get revenge of this guy for screwing him on the deal with the battery. They obviously roll in the aftermath of this skirmish that happens between the Fireflies and this broker of equipment, and
that was disappointing because they find Robert on their own and like beat the shit out of him, and then kill him. I'm like, you just see him slump over. I'm like, that's no fun. Damn it. He was more of a Weasley little shit in the game, I guess. They didn't really set that up very much in the show, so I mean, whatever. He's not really important, but I wanted to see Joel just like break his arm, and then Tess like, well, that's a dumb idea. Bah! Shoots him in the head. I was like, okay, but we didn't do that.
But obviously, this is where when these two groups meet is obviously where the little girl and Joel will end up meeting, and Ellie, and he is then tasked because of the leader of this group of Fireflies being injured in this gun battle. Which unfortunately we didn't get to see on screen. We only get to see the aftermath of it. I thought it'd been fun to see it on screen.
Yeah.
But obviously she's not able to take Ellie where she needs to go to potentially help mankind. So it kind of ends up becoming, we both have something the other one needs. You have a need to go in this direction. I have something that needs to go in that direction. So why don't you take this girl to where she needs to go, and we'll take care of you for whatever. And that ends up being the motivation for Joel and the one girl and his friend. I forget her name.
Tess,
to take Ellie and to start making their way west. out of the quarantine zone into the infected zone. Again, that scene is the one that kind of disappointed me. I don't think it evolved the way it should have. For one, I want to see the gun battle, because not that I just want mindless action, but
we'll get it later, I'm sure.
But I think it would have been more interesting because, I mean, obviously, Joel and Tess are after them because they got screwed on a deal for the battery, which both them and the Fireflies needed to power a vehicle to get Ellie where she's got to go. But it would have been interesting to see them have like kind of a little bit of a Mexican standoff moment where like one group rolls in, the other group rolls in, the other group rolls in, and it's like who wants to kick each other's asses the worst. And it could have become a thing like that. And then I think what ended up happening in that scene could have been a culmination of something more. But instead, we don't get the gun battle at all. Joel and Tess walk in there, and they are just basically looking at a bunch of dead bodies in a hallway. And the one girl, the leader of the Fireflies, is hurt. Her lieutenant is injured, obviously, with her ear all jacked up. And
she got Van Gogh'd.
She got Van Gogh'd.
Yeah.
And so they too easily pass Ellie off to him. There wasn't an internal struggle with them, I thought. Because if she's really that important, because look, she is so important to at least this group of Fireflies in Boston that they are willing to uproot their entire operation there of however many people to escort this one 13-year-old girl, 14-year-old girl surrounded by God knows.
She's like, I'm 14, by the way. Not that matters.
Surrounded by God knows how many of these Firefly troops and storm soldiers to wherever they got to go. But she's so easily just kind of like, oh, well, I'm injured. I can't go anywhere. My lieutenant here got her ear shot off or bit off in the fight with these people that you didn't even get to see. Here, take this girl and go. Take this girl and go west for me. And it's like, really? It's like as important as she is, you're going to pass her up to some asshole who just walked into your house. You've never met.
They know each other.
Who you have no idea. Well, that's not the inclination that I got.
Oh.
Now, they might know of each other because of this very closed bubble that they live in. I'm sure everybody kind of knows everybody, bit of a small town thing going on in Boston, given the situation. But, I mean, he obviously knows about the Fireflies. That's why he tells that guy to go screw himself whenever he goes there and tries to recruit him. But it's like they don't – I can't imagine they have that kind of a relationship where she's like, oh, this is a guy that I can trust. This needs to be done. I need you to do it. She just
she does say like, I'm they're
shocked,
capable of some stuff.
Yeah, they're capable of anything, though. That's my problem. Is that as far as the leader of the Fireflies knows, they're gonna walk this girl out to the friggin' to the out of the house, and they're gonna walk her out to where they're out of view, and he's gonna put a bullet in that girl, take whatever they gave him off the jump, and then just walk away with whatever he's got. She has no way of knowing that Joel isn't going to screw them. You know what I mean? That whole scene was disappointing to me. I'm like, she's so important. You're just going to pass this girl off to some asshole who just walked in the door. I don't know.
I imagine they'll get paid for it, and that's Joel's whole motivation of survival is like, I got to get paid and I got to live in this world. I mean, that's why I'm saying it was weird that it was a car battery, in the sense that I'm like, well, it was a whole shipment of guns, and that played out longer. It's like they have that exchange where they're like, hey. They finally find the thing of guns, and it's where Ellie and Joel are in that room just waiting for Tess to come back. She's like, oh, I saw it. It's a lot. Like, let's go do this. Then it does kind of happen that same way where you don't see it. You just see her get injured, but she's like, look, I can't go on. And I guess if you're going to try and do this, you don't want to do it without your leader. You don't want to make a big move, that many people all at once and have it go sideways. But the fact that, well, you can't fight, you took one in the gut. And again, your second in command here lost their fucking ear. So she can't really complete this mission. So she's like, well, hey, I mean, you guys can do it, since I've heard, you guys can pretty much do anything. Because even Ellie's like, what do you mean? What are they capable of? Like, I do appreciate they met the same way. Like, they come in a door and all of a sudden Ellie literally comes out of fucking nowhere and tries to knife him.
I thought that was kind of fun.
It was a little more over the top, and this one, he just like picked her ass up and threw her into a wall. I was like, damn, dude.
Right.
Is she as precocious and capable of defending herself in the game as she seems to be after one episode of this TV show?
Yeah, because I mean, if you saw the end, she saw the like, oh shit, like I have to do something. Like she gets a little better, and I think I praised that back in 2013 when this game came out, that I've seen some really stupid AI in a game, but I was like really impressed with Ellie's in this. I'm like, oh my god, she actually helps you, and she's pretty damn smart about trying to. Like, I was in a gunfight in this like hotel trying to get away from these people, and she pops up and she's like, "Hey, asshole!" Throws a brick at him and like knocks him out, stuns him, and I'm like, oh, there's my chance. Boom, grabbed him, and then like I got a hold of him, you know. Or like one time I got caught by one. You had to tap the button to get out of it. Like he's got me in a headlock. You see her behind. She jumps up and she'll stab them in the back with a knife to get him off you.
Oh,
so
man.
yeah, like you'll see like the little cutscene move down. You see behind him, and she'll run up and stab them with that switchblade. Which also I'm glad she got her signature switchblade.
Yeah, that was cool how he was, when they're having their little Mexican standoff, when they first, when Joel first sees Ellie or whatever, and he's got his foot on the knife and she's trying to take it. And he kind of kicks it back across the floor. I thought that scene was really cool. She looks at him like, dude, what are you doing? That's mine. You know what I mean? That was maybe one of my favorite scenes of the episode. I thought that one was cool too.
I think they nailed Ellie. I mean, in that first scene, we see her kick the fucking plate at them, and she's just annoyed to go through this process every single damn day. I'm like, oh, that's Ellie for sure. That's her snarky like attitude. She is that way. She is really just,
I do wish they had gotten an actress that looked a little bit more like Ellie from the game, though. I mean, they nailed it with Pedro Pascal for casting, for looks wise. That's one of the gripes that I did have. Like I said, acting, she's I didn't. Maybe it's like, okay, like whenever Walking Dead first started, I hated Carl for the first 2 seasons. He got on my nerves. So maybe it's, I don't like kids in horror. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. But
she does get better. Really, I don't know.
I didn't really click with her in this episode. That's kind of funny. Clicker. So that's going to be that's going to be a pun going forward. I got a feeling, but it was. But that one scene I did like that.
Just play the character right, and when I finally saw, because all I've seen is just little snippets or just seeing the characters.
Yeah.
And I think it might have been Derek that said it earlier in the comments. He's like, I don't know about the actress herself, just the way she looks. I'm like, she has got the babiest of baby faces. I'm like, I don't believe you're 14. You just got the real chubby cheeks. You don't like some 14-year-old girl who's been through this apocalypse.
You even said earlier the blonde-headed girl that's walking, that gets the stuff in the neck and then ultimately gets dealt with. She looked more like Ellie than the girl that plays her in the show. Like maybe this was a miscast. Like I don't know. I don't know either of the actresses. I've never seen. I don't think I've seen either of them in anything. Not that
she was in Game of Thrones apparently, which I didn't see that. But
I watched like 2 episodes of that. I'm not into the dragons and swords. That's not my deal.
You weren't into the dragons and titties? Come on, man.
I've seen the nudity parts. Do you not know me by now?
Oh, he got the main story plot. Okay, I got you.
I've got Google. I can.
You watch this for the plot.
I gotta be honest. I think I would. The girl that played his daughter, I think I would have liked her in the role of Ellie more.
That'd have been fun.
She was a better actress. I mean, obviously black and white, different race, but she was a better actress. You felt more with her, and like not even her death is the reason why I liked her better. She was just a better actress than I think this girl is. But
I do understand, because again, they are supposed to be. I mean, they do the same in the game where they're like, "Hey, take her," and he's like, "Hell no!" She's like, "Fuck, I'm not going with this dude." I'm like, "Yeah, they're not supposed to be right off the bat." And obviously, as it goes on, of course, they come closer and they start warming up to each other. It does take a while. I get it. Like they're not supposed to, because when they get out, he's like, "Look, we don't talk about our past. We don't talk about nothing. We're just doing this job. We're getting the hell out of Dodge after that." I'm like, yeah, but then it becomes more and more of a thing. Now we got to go to this one. Your princess is in the castle. We got to go somewhere over here now. And
so
come winter, they're like that.
So Pedro Pascal has 2 shows where he has to take the child on a mission.
Yeah,
I just realized that.
I wasn't going to mention that, but yeah, you're right. I was trying not to. I know.
Wow. Okay.
Hey, you know what though?
Maybe.
So far, he's killing it in both of them. Is all I'm going to say.
He plays every single dad in both of them. All right.
Maybe he's stepdaddy of the year to these kids that aren't his. I don't know, but it is what it is. So, it's all good.
Yeah, but obviously they accept this mission to get the girl out of Boston and get on the road right at the end of the episode. And on the way out, they run into the same.
I knew it was going to be that scene. I knew it.
Security force guy that he was selling pills to earlier. There's obviously a scuffle between the 2 of them. He needs to do what he's got to do to keep these people from getting out, and they obviously need to go on their mission. And it goes the way it goes, obviously. But the big reveal is that she's obviously been gets tested by this guy before he gets taken down by Joel, and she is a carrier of this virus, which comes of course as a shock to Tess and Joel. But I don't know. What did you guys think of that scene? It was a bit of an underwhelming reveal to me. For one, because I'm not being an expert in the game like Jeremy is. Obviously, I kind of know, but
I'll let you know.
but it seemed like it was kind of underwhelming. I feel like they could have held on to that for another episode or two and made that reveal a bit more something. I mean, Jeremy, what do you think of it? Was it underwhelming to you, or do you think it fit?
I was excited because once it got to where it was going, I didn't watch the timer bar at all. But when we got to about there, I was like, oh, that's gonna be a cool place to end it. I'm like, that's the big bomb drop reveal. I'm like, that's a cool place to end it. But when I saw it, I was like, well, it doesn't need to be the same guy to have any weight. I don't care. It's the same guy sitting there taking a piss, and all of a sudden now you got to kill him. Probably when he had his fly on done, which sucks. Still, but I mean, yeah, because there's obviously a little more meat to the game that you play through before you even get to that. But there was more to it. I know it's like, oh shit, we got to go now because obviously these soldiers are going to come in on us. But it still kind of played the same way where it's like, yep, get down. We got it was about a book. We got to check you. And I think it was before, like right when they got her, and then she turns around, she does stab him right in the kneecap. And it's like there was like 3 soldiers. So like, obviously like Tess shoots one, Joel grabs another one or something like that. And she's like, I thought we were just going to hold them up. But what the hell? So then like, yeah, Tess does pick it up and she's like, oh shit, Joel throws it to him. And he's like, so what the hell is this? And they have a whole conversation. They're like, you think Marlene set us up? Like, they're like, how would she do that? Like, what the hell? And then so she's like, well, you better start fucking explaining yourself, kid. There's more to it. It wasn't just like, oh shit, that sucks, then we're gonna leave. I'm like, could have played out a little more length, but that is kind of a nice like ender where it's like, oh yeah, she's like, oh, this is 3 weeks old. There is something later, which I assume is maybe gonna be in episode 2 where it because they say that, and Joel's like, oh, bullshit. Everyone turns within a day or two. And Tess even starts to plant that seed of doubt where she's like, what if it is true, though? And he's like, oh, you really believe that? And she's like, well, what if it is? What if that is the reason? Like, why else would we just be escorting this 14-year-old girl for what? Because, he does say, like, who are you? Somebody important? It's like Bigwig's daughter. And she's like, yeah, something like that. They don't know what the reason is yet. And then something else happens later where it does become more concrete that, oh, this is for fucking real. Like, oh shit, we got to protect this girl at all costs.
Now, Frank, while you're at the computer, can you look up the TV show Z Nation to see the years when that premiered? Because if Jeremy, did you ever watch Z Nation on Sci-Fi?
I did not.
Well, I say, and I ask this because the whole plot of that show is obviously zombie apocalypse happens, right? And the whole point of the show is to get this prisoner that volunteered for a trial thing for an immunity thing against the zombie bite. And he gets bit a whole bunch of times and he never turns. And they have to transport him from New York to California. So I'm wondering what year did this game come out?
2013.
Okay, I think I can't remember what year Z Nation came out.
Foxtrot says 2014. Apparently.
Was it?
Yeah, Z Nation came out the first episode in September of 2014.
Okay.
The last episode aired December of 2018.
Yeah, don't watch the last season. It's garbage. Don't waste your time. But it like that's one thing I did notice that was very similar, obviously in different ways, because one's a traditional zombie and one is a fungus based. I don't even really consider these zombies, to be honest with you. It's just more of a zombie archetype, if anything. But they're more like a fungus monster or something.
I thought the guy in the very beginning of the episode explains it all very well. He talks about
which is wild.
YouTube videos about this.
Oh yeah,
where he's like, some of these things get into your brain and they don't necessarily zombify you. They make you want to do these, to spread this thing so that it can reproduce.
very much like a hive mind, didn't you say, or something like that?
Not so much a hive mind, but it's just like its only purpose is to reproduce and spread. It doesn't. That's all it knows.
What a fungus does, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not. Yeah. So I mean, my question is, and this is one of the things that, well, granted, I kind of stopped watching Walking Dead after about towards the end of the first season. I just couldn't. I just kind of lost track of it.
But
it's like
Twitter.
They never. Well, I mean, I was never sucked into the zombie stuff the way everybody else was.
You got to at least watch through season 6. Go through season 6, then you can quit.
I thought World War Z was like a different take on it because usually it's like all the zombie movies for the most part are kind of the same.
World War Z was garbage. The book is much better.
Yeah. But making
I'm never one of those people.
But making the zombies like faster and much more of a threat seemed to me like, okay, that's
I
better.
mean, 28 Days Later, and
it's horrifying
when
one of them
in 04.
Well, when one of them can outrun me and slash my whole family, that's a little more scary. But if there's like 20 of them there and all we gotta do is turn and walk away, then that's not necessarily scary. I mean, I've almost got time to load another muzzle loader after I shoot one of them, take the time to muzzle load, and then go back and shoot the next one. That's not as scary. But one of the things I never got from The Walking Dead, and I'm hoping I get out of this show, is they never really explain what happened. I mean, how did this whole thing start? At least not that I saw.
Well, you're not supposed to know with Walking Dead. That's the whole point.
But that's one of the things that I want to know. I mean,
I keep bringing up the Jaws thing. I'm like, it's not scary if you see it. It's more horrifying when you don't know what it is. And I'm like, and they have to figure out that it doesn't matter how you die, you still come back as a walker. It's like
there's nothing that causes Jaws though. It's like Jaws is a shark. We all know
there is no shark that exists that is that fucking big and that like purposeful in trying to kill people. Like, I don't know.
I almost think Jaws is a bad example. I think Alien is a better example because especially in that first film when everything's in the dark, when you're in space, nobody can hear you scream and everything else kind of thing. Yeah. When the xenomorphs are in the dark, you don't know where they are, or what they look like, or how many are there. That's kind of the thing with the zombies. If we know, a satellite crashed from outer space in North Dakota, so and that spread amongst a virus, blah, 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 then we can figure out a plan. That's something you say for like a later season of a zombie show. You don't tell me that in the beginning because
I'm not saying I want the answer in episode 2. I'm saying that one of the things I didn't get from Walking Dead was any kind of idea as to where this all started. Because at some point, the story, whether it goes 27 seasons like Walking Dead did, I think, or whether it's a movie, it has to circle back to kind of complete the story arc. And Walking Dead never did that. Now, I'm assuming that this does, not having played the games as much as Jeremy has. But
there's a third game coming out this year or next year, so they're expanding on the story.
There's a third game. My good God, I want it.
Yeah, there's a third game.
Yeah, but that to me, it's like Resident Evil. For all the shit those movies have gotten, it's like there's at least an explanation as to like how that shit started. I mean, there is a complete circle at the end. At the end of the last film, the Mia Jovovich film, it's like there is an ending to it all. There's this good virus that goes around and undoes everything that virus does, and the assumption is that everything will eventually get back to normal when the final credits roll in that movie.
But how many things can you really go to try to explain it? I mean, like if you talk about 28 Days Later, it's like, oh, it's a bunch of funny enough, as a bunch of people who were trying to kind of like more animal activists, like, hey, we're gonna free these monkeys, and these monkeys are what carry this thing and it kills everybody. I'm like, wow, really?
I think that's a bigger question you're asking here because it's at least a top 2. Maybe my favorite zombie film is Dawn of the Dead from 2004, directed by Zack Snyder. Yes. You don't know why, you don't know how. It just happens one morning. You have Sarah Polly's character. She's laying in bed with her husband after they did their thing in the shower, and then the little girl that you saw skate 5 minutes ago is in their house eating the throat out of the husband. And it's like, oh my God.
And she walks outside and everything's just gone to shit. She's like,
it's just all chaos. So if you're one of those kind of people that you like a happy ending for your story, I feel like you want to know what caused it. Whereas if you want more of a horrific, maybe even more realistic ending, you may not want to know the why.
Well, I want
let the story play.
I want an ending that suits the story. It doesn't always have to be happy. Like
I
was
get
one
that.
of because 24 is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. I always thought that Jack Bauer should have died at the end of that because after all that character's been through, it would have been a disservice to his character for him to have a happy ending, for him to have the white picket fence and a new wife and kid. That would have been a disservice to the character. It seems like the only logical ending for a character like Jack Bauer is that he sacrifices himself to save America one more time. So that's not a happy ending. That's a logical ending.
Well, that's how Walking Dead ends at the very end of the comics, at least. Like Rick Grimes ends up getting killed. I'm like, yeah, that sucks. That's kind of after all that. I mean, then he dies. But there is a happy ending. I mean, you flash forward to Carl as an adult telling his daughter all the stories about Rick, but still, it's like at the end of all that, then your main character ends up dying, and it's like still kind of a downer ending, but it does have a silver lining at the 10 years down the line, whenever Carl's like in his 20s or whatever. But
but one of the things that I really did like about it is after that scene ends, the big reveal that she's a carrier of this virus. They go through that fence and they walk off out into the wilderness, and you get to see that great shot with the lightning going off in the background, illuminating the one big high rise.
There's the building that fell.
And
it's like leaning over.
The video game shot that I really, really liked.
That looked cool.
I was scanning when that kid first walked up to the LZ. I was like, where's the building that fell over in the back? Where is it? Boston's not that big. Come on, where is it? You'd know if some big building fell over, and then you see it. I'm like, yeah, it's probably that may be on the other side of the town, but because I know that's the next part of the game is you go in that building. So I saw it when Tess and Joel walked away from the encounter there. I saw the building laying over. I'm like, oh, there it is.
Yeah,
we might get some clickers this time.
I thought that was a really, really cool shot. Yeah, no clickers in the first episode. No. There's actually a couple shots in the trailers that we haven't seen yet, which I'm okay with that because I don't want the clickers. Yeah, I don't want because the way I see it, and Jeremy, I don't know if this is how it's going to play out or not. I don't know how it plays out in the video games. You do, obviously, but I mean, I feel like that's going to be the big bad of this season. Like there might be two of them. Like the physical threat is going to be these not just the people who are infected, but these clickers specifically. While the psychological and like emotional threat is going to be more what the government is. It's like they can shoot them all, but it's like mankind being bad.
Yes, I'm like, or other people that are out there,
things are being bad, and they're just trying to do their thing.
People that are out there that have just been out in a while. They don't have some safe, so-called safe cordoned off zone. Like they just been out in the wilderness and they just do what they do. Those human threats are probably just as bad. Because you don't know the clickers and zombies don't talk to you. The people do, and the people will lie to you and shit. I think that one when you see that big, it looks like a big clicker comes out of the floor that's burning. I'm like, that's the bloater that we see later when we run across Bill. That I feel like I'm like that happens a little bit early, but I'd save that for maybe later if you can. But your clickers are going to be your main, that's going to be your main fucking problem. Yeah, they're blind, they can't see you, but my God, you so much as like. You snap a twig in the wrong part of the building, it's going to fucking come bite your neck out.
Now, question.
This could turn into a horror movie horror show real fast, and I'm here for it.
Are these like a traditional zombie where you have to shoot them in the brain or like the spinal cord, or can you kill them other ways?
So how it works in the game and how I tell people is make sure you have shivs. So have a shiv on you because the problem in the game is they're an insta kill. If it grabs you, you're done. Like they will just grab you in the neck and they'll kill you. Now you can, again, it's accuracy by volume. Like you put enough into them, and you essentially want to try and go for their brain because that's where it's at, and that's where you'll probably kill them. But have a shiv because you can grab them and then you can just about stab them through the neck or up into their head, and you can kill them.
So it's in it's in that cortex up there. So it's kind of the similar thing. Then. Okay.
Yeah, you want to try and go for I mean, I was going to say it is one of those games that it's a weird thing I've had to unlearn from some games where I'm like, you can't just blow through everything and kill every enemy. I'm like, I have to be smart and not fucking guns blazing Leroy Jenkins. Run for it. I have to stop and think about, oh crap, I need to be smart about how I do this, or I can't fight every single one, so I'm going to run.
Because I feel like with this kind of creature, with like a fungal-based creature, a flamethrower is like the best weapon to fight these things, right?
You do get a flamethrower later in the game, so maybe, yeah.
I mean, as I'm watching this and I'm seeing like Frank said, that one that's grown to the wall, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to torch this guy, even if it's like a can of hairspray and a big light. That feels like it's more appropriate than a pistol. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah,
Well,
you do get a flamethrower.
Well, here's a question that I have for Cora, since she hasn't been in on this one very much yet so far.
Sorry,
is
I'll
Cora
try.
has not had a chance to sit and watch this episode yet. So my
Yeah.
question is with all the stuff that we've gone into over here, are you more or less inclined to, or more or less interested in seeing the show?
More, 100% more.
Cool.
Like, I'm gonna watch it when we get off the show.
I think you'll like it. There's a lot of character focus, especially in this. I think you're going to love and hate that first 10 minutes. Yeah.
It made me tear up again. So
I didn't tear up because I don't cry at TV shows.
oh, whatever.
Yeah, I'm a man.
All right,
I don't cry.
guy, Frank.
but yeah,
Even
but honestly,
text, Mr. Poster child for masculinity cries.
Actually, I did not. That is fake news coming from Cora. Don't believe it.
He cried when we watched the Hallmark movie last night before bed. I'm telling you.
Man. I want to see that
Fake
episode.
news. Fake news.
No,
but
he did.
you see, but that's the answer though. It's like, how are you going to get the casual fans who aren't big gamers, who aren't big on, who maybe aren't big Pedro Pascal fans? Like, I don't know if there's more than 3 or 4.
They're gonna have to
people
just
left in the
sell
world.
it as a show, not based on a video game.
But
And
that's
just
the
let the
thing.
show stand alone.
I think that's how they do it in this first episode though. Is it's not like, hey, look at this video game property that we turned into a visual thing on television. But there is great character work in this. There is good acting in
It's
this.
very focused, story focused. Yeah.
There is a lot of stuff in here that they do very, very well that has nothing to do with video games. And I think that's going to be the strength of this show is its characters. Because look, after Walking Dead came out, it seemed like every 30 seconds there was a new post-apocalyptic virus, zombie, whatever show coming on TV, and it got tired fast, which is one of the reasons why I kind of lost interest in Walking Dead, is because I was like, there's 12 of these shows on every day now. It's like, it's okay to have them if you like them, but I still want my comedies, I still want my sports shows, I still want my variety. It seemed like everything was this. So it's a really hard thing to try to make it fresh and original and new and not just do the same cookie cutter shit. And they do something differently in this first episode that they haven't done on stuff like this for a while now. And I'm actually just getting a thing. The Last of Us premiere is one of the highest rated HBO debuts in a decade. Is a notification.
I think it was number 3 behind House of the Dragon and I can't remember what the other one was, but it may have been Game of Thrones and then House of Dragon. But yeah, I think it was number 3 on HBO Max. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but so Cora is now more interested. So that's the important part, is how do you get people who aren't into video games, who aren't into sci-fi, who aren't into the zombie thing? How do you draw them in? Because there's going to be a base of fans that are going to want to see this, but how do you draw in the casual viewers?
Yeah, like if you've never played it and you have to have it explained enough to you where you're like, oh, I understand this, I get it.
Yeah, so Cora's answer was an important one to me. Let's go to the chat real quick and see what some of you guys are saying before we get out of here. Derek was kind enough to drop a donation on us. Thank you, Derek, for supporting the channel. We appreciate it. After it brings it up, he says, and I'll point this to Jeremy because this is a question that since the first episode did so well that a lot of people are already asking. He says, my biggest concern is how much of this story are they going to show in the first season? I'm very, very confident that this show will get picked up for years to come. I am also very confident, especially after the first episode, that this show is going to get picked up for another season. How many episodes is this season going to be? I know I've read it somewhere, but I forget. Do you know?
I don't know. I was wondering how many episodes are going to be and how long they're going to be, because I know this first one being a premiere is probably going to be longer. But if you get some oh Jesus, I about knocked my shit over. If you get some meaty episode sizes where you can put all this story into it, you could tell a pretty good amount of story. You could make a decently long season 1 and at least cover the first game, and then you still have the second game if you want to make that season 2. I'm fine with it, even if they drag out season 1, because again, it's like the whole it's a book versus a movie thing. Like, yeah, there's 3,827 pages in this Harry Potter novel. I'm like, yeah, you only got 2 hours to work with. You can't. So if you make season 1 or 2, maybe something about the first game, and then you got later on you can do the second game, and like you said, if there's a third game out, I'm like, well, you might want to plan that out for later. Let that go on. With Neil Druckmann being behind it, I'm like, well, he makes the game, so he's probably got some sort of plan in place to make this all pan out.
There's one thing I hope they don't do, and that is stretch out and filler episodes that Walking Dead was notorious for. You would have
There's a lot
one
of shows that do that,
big
though.
important episode and then 3 episodes where nothing happens. And it was just boring conjecture, just blah.
Let me introduce you to a show called One Piece.
Right.
There's thousands of episodes, and there's literally people that have forums that are like, here, these are the important ones. Here's story arcs. Here's all the filler episodes. It doesn't matter. I'm like, trust me.
I mean, you watched all the Walking Dead, so I mean, you can even. I think you would agree with me on this. If you watch the season premiere, the one right before the mid-season break, then the mid-season break, and then like the last 2, you basically get everything. Everything else in the middle was just stretched out fodder to keep you watching AMC every Sunday. If I were doing it, I would rather do like 6 to 8 episodes of an hour and 20 minutes like this one was, and just deliver the hits. Obviously, I know they want to get people to watch HBO Max as much as possible, but I feel like it's going to be better received if they just give you the good stuff and not, here's a character study of an episode of a character that wasn't really big in the game, but we're going to spend 45 minutes on them. You know what I mean? Like Walking Dead did.
Yeah, or spend half of a game on somebody that no one gave a single flying shit about.
Right. Highlight the positive, hide the negative kind of thing. Give us the good stuff. I mean,
Yeah, I was like, just like Derek said there. I mean, I trust it. When you play video games, you're supposed to play this game for 10, 12 hours sometimes if it's a big one. So there is so much material. There is some good stuff that you can put in there. And like I say, if you didn't see the thing at the end, they had some behind the scenes stuff and some stuff that's like, here's in the weeks to come. And they showed some of the other characters, like they showed they actually mentioned it because she pulled up that paper and said, "Who's Frank and Bill?" I'm like, "Ooh, we know who Bill is. That's Ron Swanson." And I'm like, "Oh, Frank was the guy that
I can't wait for Ron Swanson.
That was his buddy." And then I'm like, "Oh." And then you see Henry and I think Sam, the 2 brothers. I'm like, I saw a quick flash of them, so I'm like, okay, cool. Saw Tommy again, which I hope they show Tommy's little setup when they get to that point. I'm excited. So I think I saw a little snip because it says like, oh, how far are we going to go to do this or something like that. You see, I wish they give him like the M4 or whatever he had at the end, but I'm like, it looks like he's in the hospital. I'm like, that's the last level of the game. Like he's like walking around that hospital with like a gun. He had like a mini 14 or something like that. I'm like, whatever. Or an M1 carbine. So I'm like, we might go to the end of the game in this season.
This could happen very, very fast because from what I'm looking at right here, all they have listed is 3 episodes.
Really?
What?
Yeah. They have the first episode when you're lost in the darkness. The second episode is called Infected. And then the third episode, the name is to be determined.
It's to be determined.
Is this IMDb or what is it?
That's Wikipedia for what it's worth. But
isn't that pretty unprecedented for HBO to only do 3 episodes?
No, because long form. Look, there is no TV show that gets 25 or 28 episodes anymore.
Yeah,
I mean,
everything's
I think
like 6-episode miniseries thing now.
I mean, most everything goes like 13 to 15 at most. I mean, even the bigger shows are only getting about 15 to 18.
I mean, Jeremy, is there enough content for them to go more than 3 episodes?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So it's not that they're out of content.
You tell me 3, I'm like, how much are you gonna do then? You can't. Like I said, I thought I saw that glimpse of when like Joel's in the hospital, which is at the very end of the game. So I'm like, you got a big amount of crap you still got to go through to get to that point.
Is it possible they're going to do seasons and just do 3 2-hour episodes each season?
It's a possibility. I mean, but like Jeremy said, there's so much that could come. There's so much story wrapped up in this game already.
Right.
Well, and you still got to go.
And there's a third game coming out soon. So, I mean, you've got that.
Right.
And with how, I mean, I'll give a minor thing here. I'm like, obviously they don't just stay in Boston. And I name dropped. Well, we even saw Tommy's apparently in Wyoming somewhere. And you go to, we do go across the U.S. here trying to, chase these quite literally chase these fireflies.
I did find some information out. In July 2021, Mazin said the first season would consist of 10 episodes. In November 2022, the 9-episode count was confirmed.
Oh, okay, I was going to say.
So it's a 9-episode first season?
3
So
No,
Well,
you
they're
wouldn't
saying
get through
as of
hardly
November
anything.
2022, it was confirmed at least 9.
I was like, you'd barely get through like Bill's story if you did 3 episodes. Jesus.
So that means there's
Wow.
7 more to go then, potentially, if they count the first 2 as the opener.
Especially if they're about an hour long. I mean, yeah, you could get a pretty good amount in here. Also, I don't know if they're going to mention the DLC because I think my own words. I'll mention here in a second. Marlene does name drop Riley, it was in the little bonus DLC for the first game, which gives more backstory to Ellie and how she got infected in the first place.
Right.
But she's like, oh,
Well,
terrorist. She's like just like
that could be a whole episode. Just
oh
right
yeah,
there.
I'm sure they'll throw it in there, and I hope they do because I'm sure maybe we'll open up with that the next episode because they're gonna be like, hey, how'd you get infected? What the hell? And she's gonna be like, well, so I was doing dumb shit and me and my friend Riley got in some trouble. You could show it. I'm hoping they do, but when Marlene's like, oh, you mean like Riley was? And I was like, you watch your whore mouth, Marlene. Don't you ever.
Well, see, I'm okay with that as long as the flashback episodes don't go, like I said, full Walking Dead where every character gets a backstory episode and we drag this thing out to 15 episodes and then you take a mid-season break and you have to wait 2 months to
you gotta kill a character and then go back.
It's just don't do that. They need to go complete opposite of what Walking Dead did and deliver the hits here. I think
there's only so many people in this game / world, so I mean that is an important thing to flash back on how Ellie got infected in the first place, but that's probably about
the world there seems to be less survivors of this than I expected. I thought we would see more in Boston. That's one thing that did kind of surprise me.
There are people out there, but they're
maybe in the game there's a bigger area where there's more survivors and they're trying to make you feel like it's more localized. I don't know.
Like I said, I want to see Tommy's little setup. There are a lot of people.
Since they are in Boston, though,
good people.
It would be really cool if they had like a shootout scene with clickers in Fenway Park. That's one thing I would appreciate to see.
Oh, like in the dead of night, you just hear them making that god awful noise.
Just imagine, they have the big green monster, that gigantic wall in Fenway Park, right? Like do like a World War Z thing where like clickers are just rushing over the wall and coming out.
No.
Like that would be really cool if they could do that. So
it would be kind of a badass visual. I'm not gonna lie.
That's what I'm saying. Like, would that not be cool? Especially if somebody had a baseball bat, they're like, "Well, batter up," and the clickers are running at them or something kind of nonsense.
Look, you take it like a champ.
That would be a little.
This is JDM out there swinging a barbed wire bat.
That would be a little cheesy, but
we could do a crossover with Negan.
God damn it!
With Negan's spinoff for Walking Dead takes place in New York. That's not far from Boston.
Yeah, I know.
So hey, you know what?
There's some. You have to explain why we've never seen clickers in The Walking Dead. You're like, wait,
what is this? There's some clickbaity YouTube channel that was trying to put out a video saying that Rick Grimes is supposed to be making an appearance in episode 2 of Last of Us. I'm like,
well, he might as well because Walking Dead's not using him. He's got to do something.
I don't get it. YouTube will crack down on everything but these blatant lies. Are you kidding me? That's
like get views, son. Right, they see a pair of cowboy boots, like Rick Grimes confirmed. Wow.
If we could get Negan with Lucille in Fenway Park fighting off clickers, oh my god!
No.
This writes itself.
Just even in the back, the cameo, not even introduced or talking, just have them walking by, like killing and running away.
What about has anyone watched Fear the Walking Dead?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I've seen it.
Okay. Have you seen up to recent?
No, I haven't seen the newest season, no, but I've seen everything else.
Because there's a big fucking thing that just happened in this last season.
Oh, you can spoil it. I don't care. It's not a big deal.
The mom lived.
No way.
Madison lived. Yeah.
How?
I have
Bull crap.
No.
That is ridiculous.
That is exactly what I said to it. I'm like, remember what she was in. She was in a baseball stadium.
You guys can break down that show all you want. I haven't seen.
I don't know. I'm saying,
but I want.
They haven't explained it.
I want to get to the chat. So some of the viewers.
Yeah, let's get back to the chat. We're having a squirrel moment, by course.
Derek says, "I really hope people are patient and do not rush to judgment in the future." Probably talking about the show. Look, I mean, I'm not bothered by them rushing to judgment because the judgment right now are predominantly positive. I mean, I haven't heard anybody. I haven't read a whole lot of reviews, but it's like the ones that I have read or heard of. People love this thing so far. So
I haven't seen any negative reviews yet. Well, I'll take that back. The only negative reviews I've seen are the people complaining that, oh, well, Joel's daughter's white in the video game. That's like the only thing that I've seen.
It doesn't matter. She dies
Who
like
cares?
that.
Oh,
Who cares?
yeah.
Right. Well, that's what I said. I'm like, well, she dies in like 10 seconds. Why are you even worried about it? It doesn't matter. But I think that's the only negative things that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, Derek also says it's absolutely crucial that people fall in love with Joel
Yeah.
and Ellie. Yes,
Joel and Ellie.
and well, I think you have. My problem is that while I'm feeling very attached to the Joel character, I haven't quite figured out the Ellie character yet. It's like, yeah, I know her purpose in this whole thing. She's potentially the carrier of whatever can help people beat this whole virus. Okay, I get it. But I can't. I don't feel particularly attached to her yet. That's the one thing I really kind of want to see out of the second episode is I need to see something that gets me attached to her. Because right now she's just that squirrely little girl who just happens to have the right blood type. I respect any girl that walks around with a switchblade because I'm Mexican. I grew up in a Mexican neighborhood. But I mean, but other than that, it's like I don't feel anything about this girl the way that I feel about the Joel character. You know what I mean? So hopefully they will get me attached to her. Right now, I do feel for her because I'm sure that of all the people that could have been afflicted with this one particular ability, that she would rather it be someone else so she could just live whatever life she's living during this whole thing. But I mean, it's her, so I have to get attached to her. Let's see. Derek says, I wonder if they will time jump. Well, I mean, they kind of already did 20 years in the very beginning.
Yeah, they did 2 decades already.
Well, I mean, because it is supposed to take place in 2033, not 2023, but I don't think it really matters.
Well, they probably, if I had to guess, they probably just adjusted the time schedule to fit, our time. So it's more.
It doesn't really matter. The world already fucking went to shit 20 years ago. I don't know really matters.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, narratively, I mean, it's not like, today, me and you could jump on an airplane in a few hours and fly from Boston to Wyoming, but they don't really have that ability. So, are we talking about time jump from episode 1 where we start to where we finish up in Wyoming or wherever the hell episode 9 or 10 ends? Or, because there's going to be time. It's going to take time for them to make this journey. So, you talking about several weeks of happening between episodes? Or we talking? How long does this thing take place time wise?
The whole first game takes place over the course of a year. So,
okay.
I was gonna say it is set up. If you saw in the beginning of like what I played, it says like summer, and then you play through that whole thing, and then I'll go like winter. And then you play through the winter side, and then it's spring, and then it's summer again when it all comes back and it's done. So you do spend an entire year with Ellie and Joel doing this whole, trek across the United States. So maybe, but like the second game does time jump a little bit, and Ellie's in her like early 20s. So I don't know. It's time framed within a year, so I don't know if they'll still do that. But
see, I do have one conspiracy theory that the Ashley Johnson character that you said earlier that wasn't mentioned. I was looking at the cast for.
I already got spoiled. TikTok already spoiled it for me, but I'm not mad about it. I was like, okay, that makes sense. So
I got a feeling she's an older version of a character we've already seen. Is what I'm getting at. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Am I wrong about that? Okay, I don't know because she looks a lot like the girl that plays Ellie in the show. Is what I was getting at.
It's her character is it's close to Ellie. Yeah, I'll say that.
Well, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody watching or anybody here.
It got spoiled for me on TikTok, but I was kind of like, oh no, that makes sense. I'm not mad about that. I was wondering where she was at. Like
when you look at her,
if she's going to be any character, I figured she'd be that character that I got spoiled for. I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, that's what I'm saying. She looks like the older, slightly, like 20-something version of the Ellie character. But hey, I'm wrong. It's all good.
That's why I wonder if they're going to do the second game. If they're going to like maybe trying to age Bella Ramsey up or something.
Right.
I don't know.
Derek also said that Ellie looks a little too young.
Yeah.
Talking about aging her up.
Because I said she's got a very baby face. It just kind of bugs me. I don't know. It's just nitpicky. I'm like, I don't care. If you play the character right, I really don't care.
Yeah, true. Let's see. Broody Gamer, what's up? Link to his channel is in the description below. He said they did a great job casting, in his opinion. Yeah, I have no problems at all with the casting.
I wanted to look up who played Tommy because I'm like, again, I don't know if it's just the way he does his voice, but I'm like, is he the voice actor? Because like he sounds dead on like Tommy. It's weird.
The guy at the beginning of the movie?
Yeah, I don't know if
that's Gabriel Luna. He's the one that played the he's the one that played the new Terminator in the Terminator, the newer one.
I haven't watched since like T2, man. I don't.
Oh, the one where they completely destroy the franchise. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I didn't watch since like T2 because I don't want to ruin it for myself.
Yeah, but yeah, he's the one. He's the one. The Tech 9 or the whatever 9, whatever the hell.
Because some of these people do like they do the acting. They actually act the scenes that in the mocap suits and they do the voices and shit. So I'm like, if some of these people that are playing their counterparts like are the ones from the game, like that's pretty cool.
I did think it was cool that they got Troy Baker. I didn't know he voiced anything for Last of Us, but he voiced Joker.
Well, Troy Baker's Joel, but yeah.
Yeah, well, he also voiced both Joker and Batman for different properties over the years. He's done that too, so I thought that was a pretty cool casting. Whenever I saw his name attached to it, I was like, oh, I like him. He did Joker. Well, his Joker is basically he's taken Mark Hamill's Joker and making it his own.
Oh yeah,
but there's no better. If you need a knockoff Mark Hamill Joker, he's your guy. You know?
Hell yeah.
So, yeah.
Derek also says eventually zombies become an afterthought in so many movies and shows like this, especially The Walking Dead.
Yeah. You have to think about human threats.
The Walking Dead became a little too much of a soap opera really, really quickly for me. And I was like,
hell, the tagline of the show
always have problems. That's the thing, no matter what happens.
The tagline of the show was fight the dead, fear the living, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why you had the Governor Negan, the Whisperers, the Walkers, the Saviors, Terminus, all of these people. It's the same thing. Yeah.
People suck.
Yeah. Derek also says, well, I know what's coming and she looks too young for that role. Well, I don't feel bad. I would put $10 on it right now. There's going to be another season of this show. I mean, the first episode, unless the next 8 or 9 episodes, however many episodes there are, unless the rest of these episodes completely shit the bed, I don't think there's any way that they're not going to bring the show back. The buzz is too high. The reviews have been too good. I don't think there's any way they're not going to bring the show back for at least one more season. And to top it off is by the time the next season even starts filming, we're probably already going to have the third game out. So you're going to have that to work with too. So, I mean, depending on how you want to break down the story as it's told in the game, how you want to break it down on camera, because you can't really tell the story at the same pace. You have to do it a lot differently. I mean, they really could get out of just what we have now, probably get 3 or 4 seasons. So,
well, it can't do worse than She-Hulk.
True.
That is true.
This isn't Disney. Like I said, Tommy dropped like fucking 10 F-bombs in just his first episode, so they weren't playing around.
I will say the scene where Joel's laying in bed and Tommy calls, "Hey, I'm in jail. If you don't come get me now, I'm going to stay the weekend." Like that mumbling under his voice, like, "You stupid." Like that was the funniest scene of the show. I really enjoyed that part. That one was cool. I enjoyed that.
Derek also says that you should do yourself a favor. It says, Tex, you wouldn't be more wrong. You could truly do yourself a disservice if you don't watch Game of Thrones. I don't really. It's really hard to get. It's really hard to get me into the Sword and Shield stuff. But
let me tell you, Frank. I watched the whole thing. I regret it. It was a waste of my time. I don't know how many hundreds of hours I wasted.
There you go.
See,
look, I think killed Cersei and Jaime in the end by being demolished underneath stones for no reason after they finally find a way to be together. I was so mad. I was like, and then they make Bran the king and call him Bran the Broken. Like, come the fuck on.
The only episode of Game of Thrones I ever actually liked was the Red Wedding or something.
Oh no! When they kill
everybody
them all.
dies. That was a cool episode because I'm like, okay, I can get behind this kind of show.
Well, let me tell you what. I didn't read the books, and I know people who did, and that was the one episode they were most eager to see brought from book to film.
Yeah, that's the one that everybody told me to watch. Oh, you got to watch Game of Thrones. It's the greatest show ever. I watched like 4 episodes begrudgingly. Like I had to work to do it, but the Red Wedding episode, that was tremendous.
True Blood was another waste of time too. Don't waste your time.
It may have also been the person at the time in my life who was trying to tell me, "Oh, you need to watch this show," and I was like, "No." I won't say any names, but if you know, you know, probably. I wasn't.
Crazy Blade in chat. What's up, Crazy Blade? One thing I like about The Walking Dead is it doesn't follow the comic exactly. Hope the show does. This show does similar.
I dislike it for that reason because the show just. They wrecked the story. They should have stuck. I would have been perfectly fine if Walking Dead just did a shot-by-shot remake of the comic book because it was a perfect way they told the story. They went too far left.
I don't think you can do that because there are ways to tell a story on paper, whether it be a comic book or just print, that are you have to be way more descriptive on paper, whereas the visuals and the aesthetics are part of telling the story on camera. So you tell a story differently. I mean, that's one of the reasons why you take like the Harry Potter, for example, any one of the books. I mean, if you took that book and just used that as a script of the movie, the movie would be 12 hours long. Yeah. You have to make a few edits. You have to switch the way things are said. There's a speed with a dialogue, a pacing for the movie that you need to make sure that movie doesn't end up 12 hours long. Because you take a book that's yay thick, like most of the Stephen King books, like The Stand. Like they understood they couldn't turn The Stand into a 2-hour movie. They had to turn that into a miniseries twice because that book is like 1.5 feet thick. So if you cut out too much of that story, you're going to lose a lot of the overall appeal. So you kind of have to pick and choose what storylines you're going to follow, and telling a story on print is very, very different than telling it on screen. So you have to make some adjustments and take some creative liberties. That's what
scared me. That's what scared me about the last Harry Potter movies, because I'm glad this, I don't know if I say trope or trend, kind of died really fast because it started to worry me. When they're like, oh, we're gonna make Deathly Hallows Part 1. I'm like, the fuck you mean Part 1?
and I
like, oh, Part 2. I'm like, don't start doing that shit. They did it with Twilight. They did it with Harry Potter. I'm like,
by the way, they did that for the TV show Mad Men and Breaking Bad on AMC for the final seasons. You had to wait an extra fucking year. They broke them up. I was so mad as a fan.
Yeah, I think that's kind of come and gone at least by now. But like,
that was AMC with Walking Dead. Who's Negan gonna kill? Is it gonna be Abraham, Glenn, Rick? Who's it going to be? Oh, we'll see you in 6 months. We'll wait till February comes around. Whatever. So, hated that.
That was so dumb.
I don't understand because they filmed it, they had it edited and produced. I didn't understand the point of splitting it.
Well, it was to get people to keep watching because you're like, oh, who the hell did he kill?
Derek also chimes in and says, "I know that answer. They have to get the casuals to fall in love with Joel and Ellie's relationship." Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the reasons why you 100%. Kill his daughter in the first couple minutes of the first episode, because you're giving him the relationship that he lost at the beginning of the episode, which is going to play a lot towards the emotions.
And especially a story like this is going to bring people together, and you're going to have to.
But again, I feel more attached to his daughter already than I do to Ellie, which hopefully will be fixed by the time episode 2 is over. So, whatever. Also, don't forget to vote in the poll. I'll be closing that out here in just a few minutes. Just overall, what did you think of the episode? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Or did you think it was kind of meh? Let's see. There was one other one I was going to put on there, and I forgot. I must have missed it. Yeah, I think I may have shot past it. Oh, no, Derek also said there are 6 seasons of material here. Like I said, just the 2 games alone would probably, I would think, get 2-3 seasons out of. I mean, Jeremy, you think they could stretch what we have now out to 6 seasons, or are we going to need the 3rd game for that?
With the 3rd game, I mean, no, you probably could get maybe 2, maybe 3 seasons out of these. I could definitely see that being an easy feat. I don't know what you're going to do with the 2nd game because, oh my God.
There was a lot of controversy with that one. I wonder how the show's going to handle it.
Is this some situation where they're going to go, okay, well, the video game may have gone in this direction, but we're going to go in this direction, like the Double Davids did on Game of Thrones, and just totally begrudge the whole, canon?
I understand where this particular character was coming from in the 2nd game. I understand their motivations. Now, again, this is different. We're watching a show of this, not playing through it, and the characters themselves. So I'm like, but my whole thing with it was, I'm like, I don't want to play as this character. I don't fucking care. I have not seen you since just now. I don't care. I understand. I get what the character's motivation was, and I'm like, oh God, good God. And what they end up doing, I'm like, cool, but I'm like, you're not going to make me care about them. No matter how much you do. And that's what's so bad is I'm like, you even threw in the dog and I still did not give a single shit. That's how bad that was.
Wow.
When you're still playing as Ellie and this dog attacks you and she shotguns it out of there as I shotgunned it. That's what I had on me at the time. And she's like, stupid fucking dog. And I'm like, right. This dog flat out attacked me and I shot him. Fuck you. And they're like, hey, remember that dog you shot earlier? Oh, it had an owner and it was a good dog. It did it. I'm like, I don't care. I fucking do not care. If I even said about a dog, I don't care. That's how bad that was. So once I get to, if I play through that and you get there, you'll see what I mean. But I'll try.
An anonymous viewer also sent in a $10 donation. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. We appreciate it. He says, another concern I have is people rushing to judgment with events in the future. I'm worried people may think HBO is trying to push a woke agenda. Believe me, that's not the case. I didn't see anything woke out of the first episode. I mean,
they race swapped his daughter, but I'm like, it doesn't matter.
The race swap daughter.
Who's to say he didn't marry a Filipino girl? I mean, he's in Texas. She's probably Mexican anyway.
Probably. Well, and his brother even almost looks Hispanic too. So
if they're from Austin, odds are he probably married some hippie liberal. So God help Joel. You know, it's probably
man. He was a combat veteran. You don't know. You wouldn't have gone there.
I don't know.
I've already heard that Austin is I've already heard that Austin is basically just a satellite state of California.
Austin's like the one city that doesn't fit around everything else. It's like, okay, the motto of Austin is keep Austin weird. I mean, they pride themselves on this. Most Texans look down upon the city of Austin and prefer to put a wall around it too. But that's a whole thing. So.
Also, Derek is pointing out that he is anonymous, so he must have not clicked right.
Okay,
thank you, Derek. If that was you. We very much appreciate it. Let's see, what else are you guys saying? Let's see. They're making a show next year. Or Rick. The Rick show. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah,
it's a mini series. It's not a show. It's going to be like 6 episodes. I think it's 4 to 6 episodes. I've heard. It's not going to be a continuous thing. Yeah.
Of course, they fucking pushed that out. I am so mad that commercial constantly said 2023. Daryl, Rick, Negan and Maggie.
We were supposed to have 3 Rick Grimes movies by now.
I know.
We were supposed to have them.
But they said 2023, all 3 of these shows, boom, boom, boom. I was like, oh, God, that's going to be stacked. And I'm like, oh, of course, the one thing they just kind of shuffled in the 2024 is, Rick and Michonne. I'm like, fuck you. You make us wait for the one that we actually care about, probably, that we want to see.
Right.
Not that I don't want to see Daryl. I'm kind of...
I don't need to see him at the freaking... the tower they have over there. I don't care about him in London or whatever. I don't care.
Daryl. I'm more curious. I'm like, how are you gonna? I love that shot of like it's him on his bike. He's like kind of looking over his shoulder, and there's like the Eiffel Tower kind of in
Eiffel Tower. State. I couldn't remember what it was called.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's cool, but how did that go across the pond? You gonna explain that or what?
Yeah, it's like how do you get there after the zombie apocalypse? Like I said, it's not just like you can hop on a plane and you're there in a matter of hours. It's like I would imagine you'd have to take a boat, and that's a pretty tough journey for a boat. It's one of the reasons why we invented aircraft. But Frederico is saying that he actually likes Last of Us the game more than the series so far. Well, I mean, we're only an episode into the series.
Well, but to be fair, you're 1 episode in. I don't think you could make that judgment call yet.
We'll see. If it derails into some weird shit, I mean, trust me, I'll have a whole page on it probably. But
Crazy Blade says he likes the girl that plays the Game of Thrones, the girl that plays Ellie.
Yeah,
I bet you do. I've seen her naked a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, I'm not into her right now in this character. I mean, like I said,
you're not supposed. I don't think you're supposed to be. Like, she is supposed to be like the little scrappy, like foul mouth, little like snarky asshole kid. I mean, she's kind of supposed to be.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'll probably get into it by the time the show's over. But right now, not really feeling her. Let's see. Where else do I want to go? I think that we're pretty much caught up on the relevant stuff to what we're talking about. Let's see. Foxtrot says no more modern or future than medieval. He's more modern or future than medieval. Yeah, some of the sword and shield stuff I like. I mean, The Northman. I thought The Northman was a very good movie, but it wasn't as actiony. It was a little bit more cerebral. It was a deep revenge tale.
I mean, I like Skyrim and I like Fallout. What do you want?
Yeah, but
both ends of the spectrum.
And like, I really wanted to like The Green Knight, and while I like 2/3 of the movie, that 1/3 of the movie that I didn't like really just kind of brought it down for me. Other than that, other than the weird stuff, I thought it was really good. But yeah, I mean, you got to come up with a great story, great characters, but you want the sword and shield or the sword and the sandal stuff to work for me. But Yeah, Crazy Blade also says that Austin uses the same tagline.
Yeah, I was saying, isn't that Portland's thing too? Yeah,
I've actually got you beat. My hometown is Santa Cruz, California, and for as far back as I can possibly remember, "Stay weird" has been kind of like the town logo, the town motto. So we got you guys beat. And I say that because basically all the people from California that made places like my hometown kind of fun, they've all kind of migrated to Austin because the idea is they're building Austin.
Can we send them back?
Like the idea is that they want to build Austin into what places like my hometown used to be before California went straight to hell. I mean, I'm like,
we're willing to pay you to take them back. Just know that ahead of time. We will pay you handsomely. Just take back your Democrats. We don't want them here. So.
Crazy Blade said, I don't know if this is confirmed or not. He said the Daryl show will have fast zombies.
It's supposed to have different walkers.
Yes. They even showed in the last episode when Negan sees like a different variant of the zombie, he's like, what the fuck? Like he sees a different kind of zombie. So yeah, they're introducing different walker or a walker variant to at least the Walker show, to the Negan and Maggie show that takes place in New York. So I'm sure Daryl will have one in France too.
I know of like the 5 people that watched Walking Dead World Beyond, myself being one of them.
Oh God, I tried. I couldn't.
Look, they do tie it all up in the very end. You do see that woman look on a laptop. She opens it up and there's Jenner from the first season of Walking Dead.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that on YouTube.
Yeah, because he did say the French for the last one's a holdout, and that's who it is. Some guy comes in pointing a gun at her, and they're speaking French, and I didn't see what the French spray tag on the thing said. It said like the dead began here or something like that. I was like, oh shit.
Right.
And he was talking about Toledo. She's like, Toledo, Spain. He's like, no, Toledo, Ohio. I was like, well, wait, that's where we're at now.
Frank. Just watch 12 years of Walking Dead, all of the spinoffs, and then watch, World Beyond, and you'll get your answer of how it started.
I have all the time in the world to do that when I can just watch a YouTube video by some.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm just saying,
like me who says this is what happened. Let me explain this for you. And then
she got shot, and then she like ran at the door and like was. Like she seemed like she had some more cognitive ability to like claw at this door. I'm like, not like a mindless zombie. I'm like, oh, she immediately turned up and
kind of like how in the first season when Frank Darabont was directing the show, you had zombies breaking windows with rocks and stuff until they fired Frank Darabont because he wanted to do it his way, which they never should have done, by the way, because Frank Darabont's a legend. But whatever. So
even though I say, well, you got fired in season 2, I'm like. It's season 3, the prison. That was like the best shit I'd ever seen. So sorry, I don't know what to say. I don't know.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Just want to remind you guys as we start to wrap things up here. Thank you very much for coming to hang out with us. Don't forget to hit the like button. Push us to 500 subscribers. Help share us around so we can do this big charity stream that I want to do for the Abandoned Pet Project to help out all these animals. Let's get us going on that. Don't forget to support us on Patreon. We'll be having another giveaway coming up here in the next couple weeks. To close out the poll real quick, it's only 11 votes, but I mean it's pretty much a landslide. 91% of you think that the first episode was great. Nobody said it was bad.
Nice.
Basically, one person said it was meh. I mean, there's a couple of things about the episode I wasn't really with, but overall, I thought it was a really great start to the series. I think it's going to be awesome. Really excited to see where this thing goes from here on out. I'm excited. I mean, I'm wrapped up. I love the story, the effects, everything. And episode 1 was fantastic. So hopefully they will keep up the good work with all of that. And that seems like a good place to start ending things. Thank you guys for all coming to hang out. I appreciate it. Lady Cora, where can the folks at home find you?
Nowhere. I'm allergic to the internet. I come here when I come out of my bunker.
It's like a fungus in your brain. Not what the internet is. It's just a little fungus in the back of our brain, just growing and taking over.
Cora's the last of us that'll be on the internet. See what I did there?
Sometimes puns can be punny.
There you go. Hey, I've got more. You could also say
I do have a recommendation, everybody. I know we're not going to review it, but the show with Ray Fiennes, The Menu, fucking fantastic psychological /horror/scary movie.
I've heard it's really good. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I know it's on
HBO Max.
Yeah,
you don't have to pay for it right now. It's great shit. So
yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about that. I just have to sit down and watch it. And of course, to my hetero life mate Jeremy, what do you got going on the internet, my friend?
Well, this for now, which I'm very excited about. This show every I assume these episodes are going to come out on Sundays, I guess? I don't know.
Every Sunday.
Looks like it.
Sunday? Okay, sweet. So, I mean, hell, if we do this Tuesday or whatever day, somewhat close to it, I'm fine with that. Yeah, so whenever we do these reviews, we do stuff on Thursdays, and I'm always here for that. Yeah, you see the name all down there in glorious caps lock. Grim Tuesday 23. I'm on YouTube and on Twitch. I haven't done shit with either. I know I mentioned, like, if anyone who doesn't know, and I sat here and said, oh, yeah, when I play the game, it's not there. Sorry. I had to burst your bubble now, but it's not there. I was having audio issues that I need to work out, so I said, screw it, start from scratch. But now we're in the show, so I kind of feel like, crap, maybe I should do this after and do this as a series after we do this. And like I said, we can compare notes. I've got notes. Yeah. And I got some other stuff in there. I actually bought another really old video game from 2004. So I'm thinking like maybe some retro stuff. Like we do retro reviews on here. So I'm like, I've got like old like N64 games and stuff like that on my PS5 that I'm sitting there playing through. So maybe I can do that. And I saw a thing. There's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre game coming out this year.
Yes.
With Kane Hodder being Leatherface.
Yeah.
Kane Hodder.
He is reprising.
Yeah.
This is the second time he has played Leatherface. He did the trailer for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. He was in the suit for that too, so he's reprising his Leatherface. I'm
very excited for that. And like Frank said, he's also down in the description below. Brooding Gamer. We actually probably should start if we hadn't already. After I got back from this trip I went on the weekend, to start planning some stuff for this ghost hunt adventure that we're gonna do. I have cool. I have an idea in mind for something we can do for an intro or something. I think it'll be pretty funny.
Hopefully one of you gets possessed and we have to have an exorcism episode. That'd be fun.
That'd be sweet. We can do like the little shot with the guy standing there.
I'm willing to do a virtual exorcism. I can be your exorcist if you want
to. I'll sit here and convulse and act like it's actually real. Even though it's not. Yeah, so we got some stuff coming up too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. And just remember, if you're ever lost, look for the light.
And of course, our good friend from down south, the shape from the Lone Star State, my man Tex. What's going on with you, my man?
Oh, not much. It's @/Revision on Twitter. I use it now and then. But I do have good news for everybody. And I filled everybody in here that if you listen to our last episode with the resolutions, Miss Cora and I were going to pick films for one another to watch. And I have thought long and hard about this. I didn't want to plunge her too far out there, but I wanted to have her get a taste of it. So the first one that she's going to need to watch is the classic Reanimator.
Ooh.
And
let me Google this.
If anybody has seen this movie, there's one particular scene I can't wait to get her reaction about, and you probably know what I'm talking about.
Is it from 1985?
Yes.
So, 85, yes.
Yes, this is a horror classic. It's basically it's like a modern retelling of the Frankenstein story, but in a much wackier way.
It's a Lovecraftian story.
Yes, it's a H.P. Lovecraft. Yes, there's one scene you're probably going to swear at me for, but I can't wait because it's going to be hilarious.
Well, you usually give me a reason to swear at you every day, so.
But, so look forward to Cora's. Cora. Well, I thought about going Texas Chainsaw, but we've talked about that so much. I feel like she's probably kind of understands most of it.
I've never
might
seen
get
it
to that
so.
later.
But seeing it is an experience.
Right. But Reanimator immediately came to mind, and like there was no other choice. I'm like, this is the place to start. So
well, I
look forward to that.
bookmarked the IMDb page, and I'll find where I can watch it tonight.
I think it's
Thursday.
I think I know Tubi has it for free. If you just want to download Tubi and watch it there.
I'm not going to watch commercials. I don't have patience.
Then figure it out for yourself. I'm trying to help you if you don't want my help.
I just said to you, I saved the page, and I'm going to figure out where I can watch it, and then I'll watch it before Thursday. I will watch it.
Goodness gracious. Bitchy. My Lord.
And as for me, you can find
hole.
me here every Thursday, going over all the news in the world of TV, movies, and streaming. I don't know if Tuesdays will be the days that we do these reviews. We will do them hopefully within a few days of the episodes dropping every Sunday for Last of Us. But it's again, my schedule for this week got kind of turned upside down with very little notice, so we just happened to do this today. This might not have happened until Saturday otherwise, but we will make sure we do a review of the last episode before the next one comes out. That I can promise you. Don't forget, we'll also be here Thursday for a bunch of other news stories going on, and also Sunday I will be live with Tex as we trade barbs back and forth for the Dallas Cowboys.
Let's go Cowboys.
So come hang out with us then and have some fun. And until then, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for coming out. Again, we very much appreciate your guys' support. Thank you, Derek Hans, for your donations tonight. We appreciate you guys supporting the channel. And we will see you later. Adios.
Go Cowboys.